Good evening, adventurers. What's going on, guys? Happy to be back with you on a beautiful Monday evening. It's beautiful where I am, and it's even more beautiful where we are in the virtual world here in Ogden, Utah. Got the gang starting to assemble. Good to see you guys. Ken Pryor's here, Trailed is here, Melvin Leroy is here. That's right. Indeed. Alrighty. Yeah, we're going to do some flying, guys. We're going to do a little SLANT LIMA ski trip. Beginning of the fall. I'm not sure it's quite cold enough. I don't know. It's in the Colorado resorts. It might be at that altitude. I don't know if there's actually skiing this time of year or not, but we're going to just fly out to Eagle County, Colorado, and then turn around and come right back to Ogden, Utah. I just love that approach in the Eagle County, man. It's one that you really have to get the speed under control early, get the altitude under control early, and you really got to get that one right. Otherwise, you're going to be high and fast, and that's not a good combination with a bunch of giant rocks around. So we'll test our skill. This is not the airplane that I am most comfortable and familiar with. I'm starting to get a little better with it now, though, that I've gotten a few more hours in it than maybe a few months ago. But still, it's a challenging aircraft when you have, vertical navigation all done kind of by the pilot, lateral navigation done by the FMC, but vertical and speed control all really done by the pilot. So there is some autopilot capabilities, but in a lot of these older business jets, there's no auto throttle. You have to manage that as the pilot and the crew. So Melvin Leroy says we did get our first snowfall on the mountain passes last weekend. I know Melvin Leroy is not in Colorado. He's out in Montana, I believe. If I've got that correct, Melvin Leroy, you can let me know. But yeah, so I guess it's true. Trailer says they start making snow in September, so it might be probably ski time. In fact, we got one huge plus. It's a Carenado. Yeah, Wyoming. Okay. I apologize, Melvin Leroy. I knew it was. I think I did know that at one point. All right, well, we got the gang all here. We got the Red Bull open and underway. We do have the Carenado Citation, as Trailer has pointed out, and it's a beautiful plane, and it flies beautifully here in XP11. So let's jump on in and get started with it, shall we? I've already kind of run the controls through their ranges and got them synced up with the hardware and software controls. You always want them kind of all pointing in the same direction. So that's always a good thing to do at the beginning of the virtual flight. We've got Swift started already. We've connected to the VATSIM network. I've actually even sent the flight plan over the network, or at least the first of two that we're doing tonight. We'll go into the options menu. We'll remove the static elements. That's the engine covers and cones and other things like that. Pitot cover. We'll open up the main door. We'll open up the baggage door. If Downwind Sim is here tonight lurking, make sure you don't put the pie in the front nose cone compartment. You will not be able to get it during flight, I promise you. Last time we had him retrieve the pie during taxi out, which I thought was, kind of a interesting feat to do. But definitely won't be able to get it while we're flying, so might want to get all the food items into the back passenger area now, and then throw the stuff up front like the skis and the ski poles and your winter parkers and all that other stuff. So we'll go ahead and connect ground power unit as well. That'll help us get power to the plane while we're getting started up. We're going to put 4,414 pounds into the tanks here. Just do that in the regular weight and balance menu. Let's see, total fuel weight. Well, almost got exactly that, 4102. So we'll just crank it up here just a few notches here. 4414, is that what I said? 4380. This slider's not really precise. We'll just rock it back and forth a few times. 4431, that's going to be close enough. And then we'll lower the payload weight. We'll have to throw some of the pie overboard in order to keep it under the legal weight of 15,100 pounds. So there we go. All right. I would say eat the pie now, but then the weight still comes onto the plane, doesn't it? 5 Arena Live says, I think you can type in an exact weight. Well, I'm too lazy to do that. I figured you probably could, but yeah, I'm too lazy. That's close close enough. We're within like 15, 20 pounds. We're fine. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the tip, though. I do appreciate it. Trailer says I can do that on my my Super King. Yeah, I figured you probably could. I'm just my keyboard is not in a convenient location here on the flight rig, so I do as little typing as possible. Let's see. We got the fuel in, so let's do the voltmeter. Let's get rid of that menu first of all. Pop into a little bit of a closer view of the panel here. We got the yokes out of the way, so we can see what's going on. Over here, we'll do the voltmeter. That's going to go into, where's the voltmeter? Okay, that's in battery, and it's reading 0 because the battery switch is off. Screaming Cheese is here. Ditching the pie? Well, we got to, man. We're not ditching the Screaming Cheese, though. We can't do that now. Of course, I think the total number of passengers we've got checked in already exceeds the capacity of the plane, so we'll have to have a few of you hanging on the landing gear. So we'll make it work, though. No worries. All right, battery switch on. All right, we do have volts showing on the voltmeter. That's good. AC power can come on, and the avionics can come on as well. Get the nav lights on. That's down there. And wing lights we don't need during the daytime. Passenger safety lights will be over here. And would that go in the up position? Yeah, it did. Alright, we got a subscription going on. That's Screamin' Cheese re-upping his subscription. Now that's a 3-month subscription. Thank you for that, Screamin' Cheese. You don't know how much I appreciate that stuff. I've never did this, never started this stream for anything but fun, but the support that you guys give the stream is truly touching. So thank you for that. Where did we leave off on the checklist? You threw me completely off my game with the beeping sound there. But you know what? Don't make that an excuse not to do it. Let's see. The passenger safety lights on. Okay, I did that. So that's interior cabin's now lit. You guys can start coming on in. We'll get the gear anti-skid. That's over there. Marker beacon sounds can come off. Which one is that? I know it's one of those up there. There we are. And then the temp control, we'll go manual hot because I think we're going to need a little bit of warmth in the cockpit here tonight. 5 Reno Live says I call one of the prop blades. Well, we're in Citation tonight, man. So we don't have a prop blade with us tonight. So I guess that means you're the odd man out. All right, we have sent the flight plan. We can go ahead and check an ATIS. Or I don't think we have an ATIS. I don't think we've got air traffic control at all. Yeah, we're kind of out here by our lonesome in Ogden, Utah. So, yeah, we'll just check a METAR observation and we'll go from there. Let's see. Swift, come back over here. What you got for me, man? We're going to go Ogden and METAR. 170, 15 gusting to 25. Oh, it's going to be fun takeoff. 29er75 and clear, so no clouds. I mean, we did see a nice blue sky there when we started up, so that's holding true. 170, 15 gusting to 25. That's going to be fun. 29er75 is the altimeter. We'll go ahead and get that set. That's up here. 2975. And 29er75 also down here on the backup analog. 29er75. And we'll verify the field elevation. Field elevation here at Ogden, Utah charts at 4,473. We're 13 feet off there, but that's well within acceptable margin of error, so we're good there. Let's see, what's the next thing? We'll go ahead and set the comm radios. We should be on 22.8. So we'll spin that down. Whoops. 22 and 8. And we'll swap that in there. Alright, we're good there. We would obtain our clearance at this point, but there's nobody to obtain it from, so we'll go ahead and just presume that our squawk code will be 2200. And so there is that. And then we'll turn that into remote Charlie, I believe that is. Yeah, okay. That flashing red light should give you the indicator that you are reporting altitude mode there. So that's good. We'll hop down over here to the... Yep, there we go. That's the one I want. Flight plan page. Our origin, KOGD. And we're going to KEGE. And we are starting with the, we'll hit the departure arrival procedure. Departure out of Ogden is the EMOT 3. Oh, this is, alright, this is the finicky one. It likes you to pick the active, the departure runway first. So I guess we got to, a good plan would be to figure out what runway we want to use at Ogden. And wind was 170, I think. Let's go back to that. 170.15. So at least if we're on 17, it's more or less right down the center line of the runway. So we'll depart off of 17, even though it's not the most convenient taxi, but it's a nice strong wind. So we'll take the extra taxi just to get that that departure right down the center there. Oh, you know what? We can't. There is no departure off of 17 for this obstacle avoidance procedure here. So we're going to have to just do the next best thing, which is... Whoops, wrong airport diagram. I guess we're going to do the next best thing, which is 21. Alright, so let's go back. How do we get out of that? Okay, there we go. Runway 21, now the EMOT 3, and we'll put that in flight plan. Downwind sim is here. Now this does not look at all like a slant alpha flying. Now we're doing a little SLANT LIMA ski trip, man. So, sit down and enjoy. Oh my goodness. Well, just don't put the pie in the nose cone this time, man. We already went over that. EMOT 3 to EMOT. And then what? Then to TCH, which is a direct. So, whoops. Yep. TCH, yeah, the top one. Alright, then to J173. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Come on. J173. Then to where? EKR? Meeker? EKR. And then direct to RLG. And then our LDA 25. We pretty much know that's the approach we're going to fly. It's almost the only approach you can fly into Eagle County. So LDA 25 off of RLG. And so we'll put that into the plan. Alright, let's go to the legs page and just make sure that everything there matches up. I'm assuming that those points there are on the LDA 25. Quandary, and then Voaxa, and then Aquila, Weehall, AG, and Washi. Yeah, those are all in the LDA 25. It's pretty much the only instrument approach you can fly in the Eagle County. So those are all there, and then the missed approach procedure there is, of course, we'll verify this more once we get there, but missed approach to Jesse there at 14.6, right? 14.6. Okay, we're good. Trailer says, "Hey, I was enjoying the quick tutorial on the FMS. Yeah, I kind of went through it a little high speed, but you can always play it back, and if you have questions, don't hesitate to ask." Downwind Sim says it's Italian night over at the Downwind Sim hangar. Ramen noodle night here in the Trail Shack. Yeah. Well, we were somewhere in between. We did microwave chicken nuggets tonight. Just needed a quick one, so. So yeah, we kind of did the quick and cheap. Alright, let's get back to the setup here. I think we're good on the programmed route. We'll go ahead and get over to the fix page. We're going to set a 10-mile ring around our destination airport. That'll just help us have a visual cue on the nav display for when we need to be configured for approach and landing. So we'll go KEGE, and we'll put in a 10-mile ring, 10-mile distance ring on that. Although in this instance, we're going to be configured early. We're going to be configured well before we get to that 10-mile ring. Breakfast of Champions, says Downwind Sim. Yes, indeed. We're going to be configured well before we get to that 10-mile ring, because this is one of those approaches that you have to get the speed control and the altitude control exactly right, or else you're not going to get it down in one piece. You might get it down in several pieces, but you won't get it down in one piece, which overall is the goal of a landing. Alright, let's get back up to the front panel here. We'll get the nav display set to a, let's get it set to a reasonable distance. We want to kind of be able to see what our next waypoint is, so I guess we'll just leave it zoomed out like that. That's no problem. I like to have the wind vector in the nav display, so we'll go ahead and do that. There we are. Initial altitude is 15,000. We've got to get at least 15,000 before we can proceed eastbound from Meeker. I'll show you the real quick and dirty version of the of Emont. So we're going to depart Ogden. We got to join this radial to Emont, and then we're basically going to have to hold, climb in Emont holding pattern to MEA for route of flight. So it means basically you have to keep circling around Emont until you get to a minimum of the altitude that's required to proceed eastbound. And that's 15,000 feet, as you can see right here. So we're basically stuck at Emont until we hit 15,000. Now hopefully, this thing does climb pretty well, or it can climb pretty well. So hopefully we'll be able to hit 15,000 before we get to Emont. And honestly, we're not going to stop at 15,000. We're going to keep climbing. But we're going to put that in our altitude selector just as a reminder that that's our altitude that we have to get to. Any add-on scenery tonight? I do have just the X-Plane freeware add-ons for both Ogden and Eagle County. So the Mr. X, or whatever the freeware packages are that get posted to the xplane.org forums. So then we've got those in both our origin and destination tonight. We'll see how they look. I think I've seen the Eagle County one before. It's pretty good. The Ogden one I haven't really explored, but it looks decent. Yeah, it looks like we got some friends joining us over there. Cool. Always a pleasure to fly along with our friends. Alright, back to the checklist. Yep, Downwind Sim says I'll check them out. Okay, we've set the initial altitude, the initial heading. We've got to go back to that procedure and just figure out what I should dial into the heading bug here. Looks like off of that runway it's a 253 heading, and then to join that radial. So we'll do that, 253. Spin that around. And as always, I've gone the long way. This is 250-ish. 1, 2, 3. All right. And what else do we want to do here? We'll go ahead and set the airspeed bug. We'll wind that up to a 225. That is our climbing airspeed that we want our avionics to pitch us to, is there, 225. All right, we'll get a few things set on the autopilot. We're gonna go yaw damper. Whoops. Autopilot on. Yeah, exactly. Yaw damper on. We get the source to GPS. We're gonna get to heading mode at first. We get the altitude select mode armed, and indicated airspeed mode armed. So that indicated airspeed, that's actually a pitch mode. It's not an auto throttle mode. As I mentioned, this thing does not have an auto throttle. So it's you're going to set the throttle based on your takeoff throttle takeoff thrust that's calculated. Of course, I just use 100% just to keep it quick and easy. So I do a little cheating there. We just set it to 100 and we leave it there. But the plane will then pitch up and to maintain that indicated airspeed that's set on that airspeed bug. So it'll pitch us up. If the airspeed's low, it'll pitch us back more level. If the airspeed's high, it'll pitch us up a little bit more, and then it'll keep us right on that good climb speed of 225. So pretty nifty. Like I said, it's a pitch mode, not a throttle mode. All right, I think we're set. I had hoped we would push by 840 and be off by 850. I think we're good for that. We've still got 13 minutes, and we might actually get a little bit early. We don't, I think, need a pushback here. We're already facing out, so we're good to go. We can go ahead and close the baggage doors up. So all your crap better be loaded up there now. We'll go ahead and close up the main door and disconnect the ground power as well. And what do we got going on here? We got E-Dub 1977's following. Thank you for checking in tonight. Doing a little bit something different than we normally do. We're generally in either the Beach Baron or the Douglas DC-3 doing all radio navigation only, which is what SLANT Alpha means after all. But tonight we're just going ahead and doing a little biz-jet flight. We're going to go ahead and use the full avionics suite with the FMC and GPS, so a little bit different than what you'd ordinarily see, but appreciate the follow. Hope that you'll stop back and see us when we're doing some radio nav on here on XP11 and VATSIM. All right, now where did I leave off? We are going to get the seatbelt lights on. Buckle in, everybody. We got the beacon light on because we got the engines that we're about to fire up. That's over there. And we get first of all, the right engine. We're going to get the fuel boost pump and the continuous ignition and the starter. We'll hear that start to spool up. We'll pull that retainer clip. That allows us to get the throttle moved up into the out of the cutoff position when it gets right up to about 20%. And there it is. And it fires up. Let's go ahead and watch. Up in the upper right, we got the fuel pressure, the oil pressure coming up right away, and then we want to watch the turbine temperature come up to its peak. Hopefully, while it's still in the green range, it'll start to settle back in. Arctic ice is nice. Is rating us with a party of 2. Arctic ice is nice. Wow, that's a pretty interesting handle, and it took me a couple seconds to kind of parse it in my mind and figure out where the spaces were. But Arctic ice is nice. Thank you very much for that raid, and appreciate you bringing us some new friends to check us out tonight. Hopefully you'll be back with us as well. All right, so we got the number 2 started. We'll turn the fuel boost pump off and the ignition off and the generator on. We'll pop the voltmeter over, make sure we are indeed getting power out of that generator, and we are. So that's good to go. I think we've got... let's see. Did I catch everything on the start list? Okay, we did. So we'll repeat the process on the left-hand side. Got fuel boost pump, ignition, start up the number 1. Again, we got to pull this little retainer clip out of the way. That allows us to pull the throttle up out of cutoff. Upper left of the screen, you can see the turbine speed right up to 20% now. So we'll pop that out of cutoff. Over here where we can see the fuel pressure, oil pressure. I keep saying fuel pressure, I mean oil pressure there on the upper right. That's coming up into the yellow range now, and the turbine temperature is spiking, but it's still in the green, and it's going to start settling in now. So we've got 2 good starts. Go ahead and turn the fuel booster off and the ignition off and the generator on, and we'll pop the voltmeter over to the left-hand side, and yet we do in fact have good volts from both the left and right engines, so we are good to go there. Pitot static can come on as well. And we'll check the warning paddle. Everything is extinguished. We can check the flight controls. We kind of already did this, and we're really checking the outside, make sure the controls on the outside are moving as they should. But somebody out there will give us the thumbs up, and we're good to go there. Alright, we don't need the wing lights. We can turn the recognition lights on. That's kind of our taxi light here. And we'll go ahead and set flap 7. We've got more stream activity. All kinds of fun stuff happening tonight, guys. And Arctic ice is nice. Hit the follow button. Excellent. It also says, no problem. Next time, more. Trust me. Late in Germany, but have a nice stream. And yeah, my name's not easy to read. It's easier to read with the capitalization now that I can see that. So that does make it a little easier. Appreciate that. But thanks again for checking us out. And if you, it is a little bit late in Germany right now, but if you ever wanted to catch up on our broadcasts, we usually hop on at 8 p.m. Eastern U.S. time. So it's going to be a little late over there. But you can always catch our old broadcasts. We archive them all to the YouTube channel. Just type in the search terms Slant Alpha Adventures. You can watch any of them back. Of course, you miss out on the live interaction that way, but half the time I'm hand flying. I can't see the chat messages anyway, so. So I do the best I can. But anyway, yeah, thanks for popping in tonight. We appreciate seeing you. Trailer says, first time I was ever able to turn on the seatbelt sign in The Sims. Totally in love with flight simming. Now I can even hit the summon coffee switch. Right? Yeah, the little flight attendant. Bing bong. So lovely, man. Makes you feel like you're in total control. Never mind those things like those yokes and rudders and throttles, right? It's just the bing bong switch that you really love. As stupid as it sounds, I totally am with you on that, though. All right, we are ready to taxi out. I guess we got to figure out how we're getting from where we're sitting to the departure runway. I think, you know what? I'm not even sure where I'm parked. I guess we'll have to figure it out. I guess what I'll do, I'm somewhere in either this area or this area, but I know if we proceed kind of north from either location, we'll eventually hit taxiway Alpha. And we're going Alpha all the way out to the northeast, and then we'll depart on 2-1. So we'll go north, and then we'll join Alpha and head northeast, and hopefully we'll figure out where we are. All right, are we ready, guys? Well, where are we facing right now? Okay, so north is to our right. Alright, that gives me kind of an idea. I'm a switchy kind of guy. I love it. And away we go. 850 Hotel Papa. I believe that's Melvin Leroy. That's Melvin Leroy in his Phenom. Alright, I'm not really sure. Not really sure what taxiway this is, to be completely honest. Just think soon. Voice Unicom, says Trailer. Yes, indeed. I can't wait for that. I think since Melvin Leroy is the only other pilot here, I may forego the swift text announcements. Yeah, that is indeed Melvin Leroy. Alright, I'm going to the north, but again, I'm not really completely sure where I am, so we'll hope that this way eventually dumps us out on a runway. That's what we're going to do. We do have a taxi out checklist that I will do regardless of the fact that I'm not sure where I'm going. Number one would be to test the brakes. I'm going to run the throttle up just a little bit, get some speed going. And we'll test our brakes, left and right. And they do indeed work. We'll go ahead and fire off the reversers for just a moment. We should see three whites on both the upper left and upper right side of the glare shield there. Whoops. Keep forgetting to change that button. There we are. There's our reversers. Okay. And we'll go ahead and get the continuous ignition on both of those engines on. That's down there. Hopefully we'll catch a taxiway sign at some point here. This seems to be another one of those add-on scenery packages where the taxiway signs were either omitted or they were not updated to reflect the current scenery system. Okay, that says Alpha there, so that's the taxiway we thought we were going to be on all the way up. I don't know what the heck I was on, but we are joining Alpha, so... So I guess we were actually down at the very, very bottom of this airfield. Still seems like we might get off a few minutes early though. Go ahead and get our TCAS on. Yeah, there's 21 in alpha. Okay. TCAS on. Landing lights on. Anti-collision lights on. So 1, 2, and where's the anti-collisions? Like over there? So I think we're ready to go. We'll give Melvin Leroy just a minute to catch up to us here. And we'll go ahead and put in a... Let's go to text chat 22.8. Ogden traffic C550 departing 2-1. What's the name of our procedure? Emont. Alright. No traffic observed. Away we go. Alright, so the departure procedure here, basically 100%, 100 knots, flaps, autopilot ignition. See if we can remember those 5 steps without having to reconsult the checklist. Alright. We'll advance the engines just a bit. Make sure that they respond normally and symmetrically. All temps and pressures are good. Go ahead and set our 100% takeoff power. Alrighty. 100 or very close to it is set. Airspeed is alive. A little bit of right rudder in to counteract that crosswind. 100 knots is our rotation speed. Away we go. Oh, looks like we got some goalposts up ahead. Maybe we'll go. Maybe we'll just try and get a good field goal here. All right, positive rate, gear up. I'm going to steer just to the right of the smokestacks. Actually, we should be turning right to, what was that? 25, whatever it is. And then we'll pull the flaps in, and we'll start pitching for that 225 knot climb. Oops, overshot the turn there just a little bit. Got airborne just about 8:40, so we're 10 minutes early getting out. Alright, so we got our 100, 100, we got the flaps up, we can get the autopilot on now. Of course, it's going to lower our pitch and get up to that 225 knot climb. And then we can get the engine ignition switches off. Alright, so far so golden, guys. Let's see, we're maintaining that heading. And let's see, what does that say on the nav display? I'll tell you what. We're going to leave it in heading mode. I'm going to switch it to analog, and let's just tune in the departure, because it doesn't look like our FMC's got it right. We should be on 115.7 and a 221. I've been really good. I would have done this prior to departing, just to have the backup plan set. 221. Oh, see, we've overshot it. Alright, let's get left and get on that. Alright, and that EMOT intersection this is why you got to know that slant alpha stuff. So we tune 115.7 and the 221 outbound, and it's 18 miles to that EMOT intersection. And if we hit that EMOT intersection, what we'll do is we'll do a 30-degree right and then a teardrop back in until we're at 15,000, and then we'll proceed actually to our next waypoint, which is that Wasatch TCH. Oh, now we've overshot the radial again. Now, like I said, we had set 15,000. See, what is our DME there? 8.9, 9.0, so we got another 9 miles to go. And we're already at 12. So I had said 15,000 was just to remind us the altitude we needed to be at. But it looks like at this point we're going to be at 15,000 before we get to that EMOT point. So I'm going to go ahead and just set our cruise, which was what? 25,000. Alright, so there's 250. And now we're back on that radial, so now I'll get turned and actually we'll follow it this time instead of just zigzagging past it. And when that DME down in the lower right hand corner of that screen gets up to 18, then we'll put in a direct with the FMC, we'll put in a direct to that Wasatch VOR, and that's our next point. Great Salt Lake there before us. So there you go. We're doing a little bit of slant alpha here in the SLANT LIMA cockpit. Those of you naysayers at the beginning of the stream. We could do the whole thing slant alpha, maybe. Nah. Alright, so there's our 15th. Whoops. Thank you, Windows. Thank you for helping. Now stop helping. So there's our 15,000. So there's our minimum en route altitude for the eastbound leg, the eastbound segment of that airway. So now we're good to go. We don't have to do any holding at EMOT. We'll just go ahead and proceed onto our programmed course from there. And we're 17.4, 17.5. So we'll get over here. We'll get ready to put in a direct. Where's direct? There we are, direct to TCH. There. Don't tell me not in database, it's there. Alright, you're really going to be that screwy with this, huh? Alright, well, let's proceed direct TCH. It's a 109, so we'll just turn that to a 110. We'll tune it manually, and then we'll get the FMC to catch up. TCH is on what? 116.8. Might end up doing a lot of this slant alpha tonight after all. 116.8. And we said it was a 109 course. Let's go ahead and get the, whoops. Yep, we know we overshot it. And I think we'll go ahead and see if we can activate nav mode, and then it'll intercept it for us once we get it dialed in. See if that works. I don't know. Through 18,000, we can go to standard altimeter now, 29902. Get back to the checklist page. Through 10,000, we can go landing lights off and recognition lights off, so I did miss that. Alright, well let's see if we can figure out how to get this FMC to get direct TCH now. Delete that. Delete that. Delete that. Okay, we can't delete the discontinuity, but now can we go direct and execute? And we'll go into GPS and nav mode. Let's do another direct from our present position, just to make sure. Alright, it's taking us direct TCH now, we think. Now why that was so far off from what the... Oh, it wasn't. I just put in a correction that was over there, but the actual distant direction 2 was there, pretty close there. Alright, very good. I think we did it, guys. I think we're actually following some semblance of our route. We had to end up doing a lot of it slant alpha. So those of you who jinxed and cursed me at the beginning of the stream, you got what you asked for. Satisfied? We're looking over here. And we got one still on the ground at Salt Lake, which should be kind of down to our left here. Maybe if I move that out of the way. Yeah, I think it's kind of under the nose cone there. Actually, I think it's kind of straight ahead. Let's see if we can. Uh-oh, don't freeze up on me. Don't freeze up on me, X-plane. There we are. And, oh, there's Salt Lake City right below us. There's the airport. So we got somebody down there getting ready to take off, and it looks like Melvin Leroy might still be at Ogden. Trailer says, I use all the features that I can when I'm flying. Yeah, you definitely have to have a backup plan. Things don't go your way, don't just give up. There's always 10 ways to accomplish what you're trying to do. And if you know 3 of them, then you're good. Alright, so on that legs page, see, we are now proceeding east of that Wasatch VOR to a point called Odus. Let's look and see. We don't need the airport diagram at Ogden anymore. We don't need the EMOT. We can start looking at that LDA. But, yeah, we're eastbound out of TCH. We're on the J173, and I'm on the low. That's why that's not quite lining up. Let's go look at the world high. Alright, there we go. That makes a little more sense. Oh, so there's Odus right there. Really, the next point on the J173 is that Meeker VOR. After Meeker, we're direct Kremling, and then after Kremling, right down into Eagle County. Ken just said, I just checked on Melvin Leroy. He's still on the ground. The cops might be searching his aircraft. Well, we know the fun things that Melvin Leroy likes to take along on a flight. All that stuff that we stashed in the plane because we didn't want to store it in our nose cone. We were like, here, hold this. He's like, that ain't mine. Sorry about that, Melvin Leroy. Officer, that ain't mine. I know at least one person on the stream that's heard that at least once. Backsides and baggies. Backsides and baggies, was that part 3 or part 4, Trailder? It's a very compelling series, but you gotta watch it from the beginning or you'll be completely lost. Feet to go. Ken says, I believe I've heard someone actually say these aren't my pants once finding something in their pocket. That's a good one. That's the best that ain't mine I think I've ever heard about. I was framed. These aren't my pants. Awesome. Alright, now I know it's early. What is that tower out there? Does that really exist, or is that just a very goofy scenery glitch? Ken says, 28 years in law enforcement, I've got lots of good stories. Yeah, I bet you, sir. Yeah, my dad, he was a software engineer, but this was after he left 11 years of the local sheriff's department, and he's got quite a few as well. I think he still holds the record. This is decades later now. I think he still holds the record, the unofficial record, of being bitten by the most different types of animals. He had a very rural section of the county to serve warrants in. Of course, he's mostly serving, civil warrants and occasionally some civil arrest warrants and things like that. But had a very rural area that was his territory, and he's been attacked by the most different types of animals still in the department. Cow, goat, owl. Of course, every type of dog imaginable. Ken got bit by a pit bull on a call. Yeah, he dogs of every breed imaginable, but cow, goat, owl, and I think the owl was his favorite story. I'm trying to remember a couple others that I'm forgetting. Trailder was a service electrician for a decade, had a few doggies bite his backside too. Yeah, all my customer service happens over email, so I'm more or less safe that way. Worst thing you could get, yeah, the worst thing I could get bitten by would be a virus, I guess. Computer virus, that is. Paper cut. Yeah, not even really. All of our paperwork is virtual at this point. The only bites I deal with are sent over the internet. Ken got bit on the right side, or on the side of his right leg, hurt like a... Yeah, exactly. And David 4DW has hit the follow button. David, it's good to see you. Appreciate you being on stream. We're not usually trading war stories of law enforcement, but we do mostly general aviation flying here with either the Beach Baron or the Douglas DC-3. Taking a little break from the SLANT Alpha flying tonight. SLANT Alpha means radio navigation only. We're taking a break from that and using the full avionics suite here in the Citation 2, the business jet. But yeah, normally it's mostly radio navigation techniques. If you happen to catch the stream from the beginning, you realize that I did have to do some radio navigation when I couldn't quite get the route programmed into the FMC correctly, so we had to kind of fall on our backup skills. It was good that we had them. But appreciate you being here. Mondays and Friday nights normally is the schedule, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, so hope that you'll be back again. Presumably hitting the follow button is exactly what that means. Appreciate you being here. Alright, just because, like I said, and we don't have air traffic control kind of giving us guidance about when we should descend and things like that, but whether or not you do, well, it looks like Melvin Leroy is airborne now. Good to go. Alright, hopefully he won't be too far behind us. And that Phenom will probably catch up to us pretty easily, I would say. Alright, Trailer has to go wake up the missus to head to work, so he'll be right back. We, in the meantime, are going to start briefing this arrival into Eagle County. This is one of those approaches where you really need to get the altitude and the speed management right, because if you end up too high and too fast on this thing, real easy to do, and it's really hard to correct. So, when we get to this Kremling VOR, we want to get down to 14,000. It's 14,000 south of Kremling toward the Aquila intercept point. So we want to make sure we're at 14,000 by Kremling. So what is our distance to Kremling? Let's take a look. $144 to Meeker and then 68 to Kremling. You know what we can actually do? We can go into the fixed page. And let's go RLG into the fixed page, and that'll give us a nice little countdown. Distance 208. So that we can use, distance 208 in a half an hour. So that we can use to plan our top of descent. And then we can go previous, and we've got that 10-mile ring around Eagle County so that we'll have that queue as far as when we need to be configured for landing. But yeah, that fixed page is a real easy place to go in this aircraft if you need a distance countdown as to when you're going to be at a certain point. And if that point is something that you need an altitude restriction at, whether self-imposed or imposed by ATC, that can really help with your vertical planning. Remember, in this aircraft, VNAV is all done manually. There's no automatic descent rate adjustment. That's all done by the pilot, and there's no auto throttle either. The pilot has to control that too. So, alright, but we want to go from 25,000 to 14,000. That's 11,000. And we want to go 3.5 miles per thousand. So we're going to start that descent 38.5 miles, and we're going to round up. First of all, I use 3.5 rather than 3, just because I like to have a little bit more conservative descent and not have to rush down. And that way, if for whatever reason I don't get descending right away, you know, I can do best rate and catch up. But you know, you'd always want to kind of have a little bit of a leeway there, just in case things don't go according to plan. But using 3.5 per thousand gives me just that little extra early start down, just in case we need it. And so then I'm going to round that up to 40. Number one, just to give us that extra mile and a half even over and above that, but also just to make it a round number that I can more easily remember, although I'll forget it anyway. When we get down to 40 miles out from Kremling, we're 196 now. 40 miles out from Kremling, we're going to want to start that descent down to 14,000. David, long-time viewer, first-time follower. All right, great to have you on the call-in show here, David. Sure you know how hard it is to find a non-airline streamer on Twitch. Yeah, there are definitely much fewer and further between of us doing the general aviation flying. And of course, you know, tonight, like I said, we're doing a little bit something kind of halfway in between with the biz-jet. So not quite the full-on GA experience that you normally get on the channel here. Of course, we're also participating across the pond coming up later in October, so we'll definitely be doing a airliner for that. I'm not going to do something crazy like taking a Cessna across the Atlantic. So you do occasionally see us fly the PMDG 73 or 74. Maybe once a month I'll do an airliner flight, and maybe 1 or 2 times a month I'll fly this. Other than that, it's mostly the Douglas DC-3 or the Beech Baron. But ATP is okay, says David, but I'd rather watch sim flying of general aviation. Well, like I said, man, I appreciate you being here and joining in on the chat and the follow button as well. We appreciate the support and glad that you enjoy. Hope that you'll be back. All right, so we've talked about the. Let's go ahead and just up the range here. Not really seeing much of a difference. Okay, we can see it over the very far right. We can see the range change. It's hard to spot, but you see here's the range indicator on that. I always forget it's there. So we got it up into the highest range possible. But let's go ahead and get a weather briefing at Eagle County. We've already kind of gone, well, we didn't really go through the approach. We just talked about the initial leg there. But any good approach briefing starts with a weather briefing. So let's go ahead and do that. KEGE. We're going to go to Eagle County and have a KEGE. All right, 220 at 8. So it looks like that westbound runway is indeed the way to go. Although, like I said, it's really kind of the only way you can come in. 10 statute miles and clear, so that's good. And 220 at 8 for a runway 25. So it's going to be a very slight left to right on the crosswind. So we'll correct slightly to the left, but won't be too bad. It's only 8 knots, and a good component of it's pretty much down the runway. So you got a couple of knots coming left to right, not too bad though. 10 statute miles and clear, 3010. I'm going to go ahead and preset that. However, we're still above 18,000. So the way I go about that in this jet is I'll go ahead and set 3010 down here on the analog. That really won't affect anything except our backup instrument. So you can see that down there. So it's showing 25.3, whereas our primary is still showing 25.1. I don't know why we're 100 feet high, but anyway. That 3010 in the analog is just an easy way to remember what it was. So you can come back to that later without having to rebrief the weather. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at the rest of that approach now. 109, 75, and 250. Let's go ahead and get that set. All right. 109. 75, whoops, 109, 75, swap it up, 109, 75, and swap it up. Now, setting the course is a little tricky. We're going to set the heading bug to our current heading. Go into the autopilot panel. Let's do it from here just so we can kind of see it all at once. I'm going to flip it into heading mode, and then I'm going to flip this into nav mode. Then I can set the courses. And what did I say it was? 250. Spin it all the way around here. Of course, I've always go the long way around. I don't know why. It's just a mental block. I start spinning before I really look to see what direction I should be going. But inevitably, 99 times out of 100, it's the long way around. 250 is that final approach course. So now we can set it back into GPS mode, and then we can set it back into navigation mode. So the plane will get us back onto that course now. Alright, but radios are set. 109.75 and 250 is set. We talked about the intercept. We're going to start at 14,000 from Kremlin. We're going to start that descent 40 miles out. Let's go ahead and check on our progress. 160 miles out, so we still got 120 miles to go. We're going to fly due south on this 184 off of Kremlin. Trailer says she's up, and I still have all my fingers. Unbroken. Nice. Sounds like that might not always be the case. So 14,000, and then 184 outbound to this point here, which is, looks like 13.5 miles out plus 6, so we'll say 18.5 out from Kremlin, but it's 17.2 out from the localizer. So that's this point Aquila, and you notice these little step down altitudes: 14,000, 13.8, 13.8. So you're really only losing 200 feet to that point. Then you go to 12.9, and then you can intercept Aquila at 11,260, and then as soon as you get past this 15.2 point, 10.4, get down to this 10.8 point, and then it's from that point 10.4, and then it's 9,800 is your final approach fix, 9.5 miles out, and then it's 8,300 is the minimum, and field elevation is 6,500. So still, you can see that the minimum of 8,300 is 1,800 feet almost. Well, it says it right there, 1,790. So 1,800 feet above ground level before you reach the minimum. So any kind of low cloud cover at Eagle County, and you're not getting in here. But the key point is to hit all these altitudes along the way: 12.9, 12.2, 10.4, and 98. You don't want to be high. You want to take it nice and slow. We're going to get the speed down to about a 170 approach speed the whole way down through this, from this feeder leg, because we really want to be able to take our time and hit all these intermediate altitudes along the way. Trailer says it's impressive to watch somebody actually fly the chart, even with these little hole details, to get the chart elevations. Yeah, you don't see it a lot in the flight sim community. You see people just throw stuff into the FMC and hit LNAV and VNAV and go. And the reading the charts really does seem to be a lost art. That's why you see a lot of folks on these hybrid departure procedures where you're supposed to maintain a heading until you get vectors to your first point. You see a lot of pilots blow right through those headings and just turn straight to those first points because they're not at all looking at the charts. They put the thing in the FMC, they erase all the discontinuities, and they just fly them in that magenta line. And that's all well and good if you're flying in the air by yourself in an empty sky. But on VATSIM, with air traffic control, with other traffic around, especially during an event, you know, you got to maintain those headings and altitudes because that's what the traffic flow calls for. And reading these charts, you know, you put it into the FMC, but you know, you don't think to look at the actual chart and see what the chart says to do, and you know, you get yourself into a traffic conflict really easily that way. So you never file anything that you're not going to look at the chart for. That's the way I see it. All right, where are we in regards to our descent? 134 miles out. All right, sounds good. I'm going to mute the mic for just a moment, run upstairs, grab another Red Bull, and decongest just a little bit. I am still slightly getting over this little cold that I had last week, so you can kind of hear I'm a little stuffed up. So I apologize for that. But take a quick moment to decongest, grab another drink, and we'll start the descent into Eagle County, and you guys can start making your bets on how many go-arounds I'll have to do. Hopefully, the answer is, hopefully if I set the over-under at 0.5, we'll take the under. But any of you all want to take the over, you can start making those bets together now. And also, don't forget, we'll make our landing rate predictions as well as we're starting that approach into Eagle County. So we'll get back to that in just a moment. Sit tight, watch the beautiful Colorado scenery go by in the meantime, and we'll be back with you in just a few. Alright guys, back with you. Yeah, Trailer says, friend of his and an airline used to brag on how he used to use auto the entire way, even to land. And you tease him asking, why bother? It's not just flying, it's just clicking. Yeah, I agree with you completely. And a matter of fact, even more than that, are the guys that will fly these crazy long-haul flights, 12 hours, 18 hours. Yet, how much of it are they actually flying? Oh, about 30 seconds until they get the plane off the ground and hit LNAV and VNAV, and then they go to bed and sleep for 12 hours, and then they wake up and they watch the plane land itself. Yeah, that ain't flying, man. The X-Plane Pilot's here. What's up, Slant? How's it going? What's up with yourself, the X-Plane Pilot? Good to see you back here. Appreciate it. Trailer says, yeah, and claim all that time for the airline. Yeah, indeed. That's why I just, I've never been into the virtual airline thing. I do enjoy, I don't want to hate on airline flying. I've done my fair share of it. But, I also do, typically if I'm going to fly for 8 hours in a day, across the pond notwithstanding, because that's the exception, but generally if I'm going to fly 8 hours, it's going to be like 3 legs. You know what I mean? If I'm not doing a landing every hour and a half or so, I'm bored out of my mind. X-Plane says, I only fly domestic in an airline. Of course, I fly typically in the U.S. because that's where you can get all the free charts. Although I do have the Navigraph subscription, it's also where I know the procedures and terminology. So I do want to do some more European flying at some point. I think once the new voice system for VATSIM gets implemented and it's a little bit easier to hear folks speak with foreign accents, I think I might branch out and do some more European flying. I've shied away from it until now. Because I do have some difficulty hearing what's being said over the channel with the accents. And it's not that they're thick, it's just that they're different from what I'm used to hearing. And with the VATSIM voice system that's currently in place, if you hear something other than what you're used to hearing, you're most likely going to miss it. So I think I'm going to give it a try once that new voice system is out. And it might be a little easier to pick out what's being said, even if it's in a tongue that's, not 100% what you're used to. Yeah, Explained Pilot says 2 hours, no more than 4. Yeah, 4 hours is even a stretch for me. My average flight time would be probably an hour and a half. In the GAs, maybe a little less. But even in the airliners, maybe an hour and a half to maybe 2.5 max. With a few exceptions. Cross the pond being one of them. Cross the pond is fun because there is something to do. First of all, you have air traffic control active the entire way, which is not something you always get on VATSIM. But cross the pond is interesting with the radio procedures over the Atlantic, and it gives you a little something different to do than what you're used to with the position reporting and the ETA calculation and that sort of thing. So cross the pond's always fun. Of course, cross the pond's always also fun because it's a chaos. It's a complete S show, if you know what I mean. And, it's just fun in that respect. Controlled chaos. Trailer says, I like the one I'm in now called Fly Virtual. There's no routes, just create your own flights, any aircraft you want. Eagle County didn't load properly. Well, we'll hopefully see most of what's intended to be there. Hopefully we won't land and see a completely bare airport. Probably just means like one scenery library is missing a couple objects or something like that. I know I have all of the libraries that it calls for it. I just might not have the most up-to-date versions. So hopefully what we'll be missing there is 1 or 2 objects that we won't really notice. Trailer says, I flew to Heathrow once on VATSIM and got told to get off the frequency, read the charts, and learn the rules. Yeah, Heathrow, I tell you what, it's a place that you don't want to mess with until you really are kind of comfortable. And not to defend someone telling you to get off the network, which is not exactly the right thing to do. But I know from seeing it from their side that, man, it's always crazy busy over there. And if you're the least bit unsure what you're supposed to be doing, it can disrupt a pretty busy traffic flow. So I was on VFR that flight. Yeah, all right. VFR in England is very, very difficult because there's a lot of alpha airspace. We're used to in the U.S. alpha airspace starting at 18,000 feet. And in the UK and in a lot of places in Europe, alpha airspace comes pretty far down, and VFR flights are not supposed to be in there at all. So it's quite possible you were somewhere you shouldn't have been. I can't speak for the situation, but yeah, you kind of need to know how to read the charts over there and know what you're doing. Otherwise, you're more than likely going to fall astray at some point. Not that it defends them yelling at you and telling you to get off the network, but like I said, it's easy to be disruptive over there without meaning to. 74 miles to go before Kremlin VOR. Looks like we're just about to cross Meeker, maybe, is what I'm guessing. At the very top of the screen, you can start to see our airport and our missed approach hold come into play there. X-Plane Pilot says, I recently got on the VATSIM and currently trying to learn how to speak with the ATC. X-Plane Pilot, I'll tell you, if you at all want some help or some one-on-one coaching or some good practice flights with an instructor or a mentor, vatstar.com if you haven't checked it out already. It's a virtual flight school that is specifically for VATSIM pilots called VATSTAR, VATSTAR.com. and you can get one-on-one coaching over there. You can get some good resources for how to read charts and what to say and when, and how to know who to talk to. And it's a organization that I was instrumental in helping to get started. I'm now involved with it in a more administrative role. I'm not directly involved with training anymore, but it's definitely a good resource for getting up and running if you're not sure what you're supposed to be doing. And X-Plane Pilot says, thank you, I'll look for it now. Excellent. Ken Pryor threw the link up there, says it is awesome. Ignatius P. Riley agrees. Trailder says, I give it 5 thumbs up. Yeah, excellent, guys. I appreciate the support for that. Like I said, I was heavily involved in that. I wrote most of the training and testing material. I know that Thomas Hansen's the chief flight instructor now. He took over for me when I stepped down from that position. He's made some modifications to it even since then. He's got mentors there now in addition to instructors, which was a great idea to help get some more folks involved. And so yeah, they're still kicking, and I'm still involved with them as far as like managing partnerships and things like that. But I know Thomas is the one that's kind of more directly responsible for the training program there, and he's definitely kept the ball running and moving forward since I stepped down from it, from that position last November. Ignatius P. Riley, I love your screen name, says Ken Pryor. I loved that book. I've confessed, I like the name is familiar, but I confess I'm struggling to come up with the reference, if someone can help me out with that. Gonna pop the map range down 1. Just because the screen's getting a little bit cluttered. The X-Plane Pilot, do I sign into VATSIM with my VATSIM login? So you'll want to use your CID, your 7-digit identifier, but it's basically a separate account, so you will need to create kind of a different password for it. The main character in the Confederacy of Dunces. Okay, gotcha. I knew it sounded familiar. I probably have read it a long, long time ago. Ken's the first one that's ever noticed it is actually Ignatius J. Interesting. Yeah, I may need to refresh myself. I knew it sounded familiar, but I couldn't quite pull the reference. But thank you, Ken, for blowing the dust off of those old neurons up there. All right, where are we in relation to our descent? 50 miles. So 10 more miles, and we want to start this descent down to 14,000 at Kremling VOR. And again, like I said, this is one of those approaches. Ken says, I read it in high school, thinking about picking it up and reading it again. Yeah, I may have as well. It definitely sounds very, very familiar. But this is, as I said a couple times earlier in the stream, if you missed it, this is one of those approaches, Eagle County, the LDA-25, one of those approaches you really need to get speed control and altitude control under wraps, because you end up high and fast really easily if you're not careful. So once I start descending, I may kind of lose out on the chat messages. You guys are going to have to be forgiving on that, as I will be kind of busy managing the airplane in about 2 miles. Definitely a difference reading the chats tonight and hand flying nights. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So that's all about the change and about 1 more mile. Oh, here we go, 40. So let's get the descent checklist going. Pull it down to about 70. Get the descent started. So we'll go into, oh, you know what I should do first? I always forget. Spin that down to, yeah, so we'll spin this down to 14,000. I should have done that earlier and I forgot. Get a good, probably about 1,800 foot per minute descent going. Get it down to about 70%. Alright, so we'll get that out of the way. Passenger safety lights are... Oh, I never did get the seatbelt lights off. So, there you go. Run to the bathroom now. You got 10 seconds. Alright, that's it. Seatbelt lights coming back on. So, my apologies on that one, guys. Uh-oh, now I can't get the click spot. There we go. Alright, and I realize now that I didn't quite catch... So the other things we need to know about this approach. Left-hand turn off if we do successfully land. If we have to go missed, it's a direct climb to SXW and then SXW out to this point, Jesse. So you can see it's a straight climb to SXW and then a right turn to 14,600. So we'll definitely need to be aware of that. The other thing we need to do is set our VREF, and that's based on our predicted landing weight. I have an automatic calculation in my spreadsheet that does that. But it's basically, what is that? I think it's 110 minus 4 for every 1,000 pounds you're going to be down from when you started, I think. Yeah, 108 minus 4 knots for every 1,000 pounds. So we know approximately how much fuel we're going to burn. So we'll do a 102 for our landing reference. So there's 100. We want 1, 2 clicks. And then our approach speed is going to be 5 knots higher than that. We basically go, the constant wind speed is 8. We're going to cut that in half. That means 4. But instead of 4, we'll use 5. Because we use kind of a minimum of 5 knots to increase the VREF to get the V approach. I didn't explain that very well. But anyway, so yeah, the 102 is based on the landing weight. When you use, there's a chart that the thing comes with. You can look that up. But the V approach is always going to be between 5 and 20 knots higher than the speed over the numbers, and it's based on half of the sustained winds. The sustained winds are 10 knots or fewer. You just use 5. So 102 and 107. 107 down the final approach course, and then 102 over the numbers. Alright, let's rebrief. METAR. Yeah, it's still the same observation. 3010 and 220 at 8. So we'll go ahead and set 3010 up here. Remember, we already set it on the analog, just to remind ourselves where that was going to be, 3010. Now, ordinarily, you'd wait to do this at 10,000 feet, but since 10,000 feet is going to be so close to our landing, we'll go ahead and do this now. We'll get the landing lights on and the recognition lights on. And then as we commence our approach, last thing we'll do is get the continuous ignition switches on. X-Plane pilot is asking, am I a pilot in real life? I am not. I'm a sim pilot for probably 35 years, maybe closer to, well, yeah, probably about 35 years, maybe a little more. But haven't done this in the real world at all. 0.0 hours PIC real world. Trailer says, I noticed you just used the default mode on the CG setting. I've been toying around with the idea of adjusting it mid-flight, but most of my flights are only around an hour and I use so little. With the CG setting. On the weight and balance page, yeah, no, I don't mess with that much. Coming up on that 14,000. I'm going to increase the map range. Whoops, other way. Yeah, I just basically use the whatever it defaults to. I just changed the fuel load. Now on the Beach Baron with Reality expansion pack, I'll actually put in weights based on the pretend passengers that I'm flying around in. Trailer says, I looked up the Airfoil Labs C-172 to the max, loaded the Airfoil Labs 172 to the max, and it dropped the tail into the ground when I parked. Yeah, you kind of had to make an adjustment there. Alright, so we're coming up on that 14,000 as the plane levels out. Oh, we're right there at the Kremlin VOR too, so it's a good thing we allotted that extra time. That extra descent distance, because it took us every bit of that 40 miles, didn't it? Uh-oh. And we're blowing through it too. Alright, it's going to get us back up to that 14,000. Yeah, for some reason, I missed that when I set the vertical speed. I didn't remember to get that altitude capture mode. It's okay, we're getting back up on it now. And ordinarily you level out, you add some power back in. I'm intentionally not doing that because I want to start pulling the speed down. Since we are commencing the approach now, I'll turn the continuous ignition on. Alright, after we pass Quandary, we can descend to 13.8. And even though that's only 200 feet, you better bet I'm going to do it. Well, actually, we're already at 13.8. Hopefully we'll be okay with this little peak here, this little mountain peak that we're about to crest. Increase the map range. Whoops. Let's go the wrong direction on that. Alright, so there's Quandary we're getting ready to pass now. Alright, so at this point, guys, you know, again, I think I gave you the warning before. X-plane pilots currently descending into Columbus and the Zevo. Good luck to you, sir. Happy landings. I am at this point going to probably not catch most of the chat messages as I'm going to be busy managing the plane here. So I apologize for that. There's 13.8, but we're already at 13.8, so I'm not going to do anything with the vertical speed mode or anything like that. Slowly bringing the plane's speed down to 170 knots. If the gear was down, bet you'd hit the peak, and the X-plane pilot says thanks the same. Yeah, we'll keep the gear up for now just to make sure we don't have to pick the rocks out of it. So 13.8 until Voaxa, which is 13.5 miles off of that VOR. I think Voaxa, if I had to guess, is probably that next point that we're headed to. Actually, we can't quite see it on the nav display, but I bet you if we go to the legs page. Yeah, 4 miles to Voaxa. And then at Voaxa, we can start descending to 12.9. So we'll go ahead and set that to 12.9 now. And we're at 158. I don't want to go, I was going to aim for 170. We're a little slow, but we'll keep it at 160. So passing Voaxa, we go to 12.9. And then we get to that point, Aquila. Don't forget to put in your landing rate predictions, guys, in terms of feet per minute at touchdown. That's not the sole judge of a good landing, by the way, but I do go ahead and play along with that. It's not the Project Flybot. You can just put it into the chat in whatever format you choose, and we'll just manually figure out who the winner is. But yeah, landing rate predictions in terms of feet per minute. Go ahead and get those into the chat now. One of these days, I'll have a prize for the winner. As of right now, I do not. All right, we're past Voaxa. We'll get vertical speed down. Oh, and look, since I already selected a lower altitude, it automatically left that altitude select mode on. That's kind of cool. And I'm going to shallow that descent. We don't really have that far to go to get down to 12.9, but it's 12.9 all the way into that Point Aquila, which is where we're going to make that turn. Yep, Trailer did say earlier, thinks that he's going to nail it on the first try with a 95.7 landing rate. So that prediction is made. We'll see how well we do. Speed's drifted up now, 190, so I'm going to pull it back. Pull it back, and I'm going to go ahead and get flaps 1 set.
2,500.
And we'll spin the heading bug around, because when we make that turn, we're going to need to switch it into nav mode. Alright, so there's 12.9, and now we can go down to what? As we make this turn, 12.2. That time the altitude select didn't stay on. Go into heading mode. We'll switch it into nav mode. So we're joining the radio-based localizer at this point. Ken says negative 170. Trailer's made a correction saying, yeah, negative 95.7. Now, we knew what you meant. Like I said, it doesn't have to be in any particular format, so. 195, says David. It is a long runway, says Ignatius. So we're 12.2 until passing that point Weehall. Not U-Haul, Weehall. Oh, we're already past Weehall. So now into Agel, yeah, see, we need to be descending faster. And we've got the runway in sight, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Take my life and your lives into my own hands here. We're going to go ahead and start pulling the speed down to 140. Get the next notch of flaps set. Since we're joining the glide slope, go ahead and get the gear down as well. Add some power back in, make sure we've counteracted that extra drag. We can see that the glide slope indicator on the nav display is very low, so we need to descend and catch up with that. Alright, glide slope indicator still on the very bottom of, oh, now it's starting to come up. See the green mark over on the right side of that primary display starting to come up. It's still 2 dots low. So I'm still kind of pitched down. Remember, 107 down final, 102 over the numbers. Starting to get in on that glide slope now. I'm a little left, a little right, of course, of the localizer, but I'm trying to just avoid that terrain there. Alright, glide slope is coming in nicely. We're going to start pulling the speed the rest of the way down. Get the rest of the flaps out. Yeah, I'm liking this. I did get a little too high, but the speed management was good, so I was able to make the correction. Glide slope now coming in fairly nicely. Localizer's pretty good. Starting to get down to that 107 approach speed and then 102 over the numbers. low on the glide slope now. Alright, we'll add some power back in, make sure we nail that 107. A little low. Localizer showing me left, of course, but I'm visually aligning with the runway at this point. So I've got visual with the terrain, I can do that. Glide slope's looking good, speed is right on the numbers at 107. Speed's a little creeping up now. Okay, so far I'm pretty happy with the approach, guys. Just go ahead and get those last second predictions in. You got about 60 more seconds to make them, maybe last 30 seconds possibly.
1,000.
You know, and I didn't set the minimums on the panel, so we are continuing though. We're past the minimums and we are continuing. Alright, so we're back on that 107 knot approach. At this point, we're going to go ahead and start bringing that down to your 102 knot speed over the numbers. A little slow.
400.
Let's get the center line fixed.
300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30.
Now we're going to land a little right of center line.
10.
I thought it was good, but it was a little higher than I thought it was, so then I brought it down a little hard. That's alright though. Still under 200 feet per minute, so I'll take it. Got the reversers out. Speed's now 40 knots. Cancel the reversers. Stow the flaps and spoilers. Make the next left. So 184. Who was the big winner? Yeah, I felt that approach and landing was very good, except I did flare early, and I was higher above the runway than I thought I was, so I just kind of misjudged the height. That's what I get for flying too many different types of airplanes. I lose my feel for how high above the runway I am when I sit in the cockpit. Other than that, though, I was pretty happy with it. Is that Melvin Leroy coming in behind us? That might be just a scenery thing, a static helicopter or something like that. But anyway, go ahead and get the landing lights off. Recognition lights can stay on. Continuous ignition can come off. What else? Pitot and static can come off. Anti-collision light can come off. Yeah, let me just read through that again because I think I missed some stuff here. Reversers, flaps, and spoilers are stowed. Landing lights are off. Anti-collision lights, ignition off. Oh, TCAS. Alright, we'll go ahead and turn that off then too. Oh, that's the wrong one. There we go. TCAS is now off. Oh, it looks like David 40W is the big winner of the landing prediction. I'll have to catch up with the chat messages in just a few. We'll get the plane taxied over to our parking. We'll get it shut down, and then I'll catch up with the chat messages. So just bear with me another couple minutes, guys. We'll park right here at the main lodge. We're VIPs today, so we'll park right here at the main lodge. That'll save us a little bit of tax. Pardon me, a little bit of taxi time. A little bit of that Red Bull coming back up. Chase it back down. Yeah, so there's a helicopter floating over there, but I think it's a static animated scenery piece. I don't think it's really a VATSIM player. Yeah, we'll park. This is the main terminal. GA is actually a little further down, but we're gonna VIP ourselves today. A little side road here. Oh, that's an actual road. We'll taxi out to the parking lot. We'll park out there. How's that? That's right. We'll cut across the grass. Park over there. Yeah, we're gonna drive back to Utah. It's gonna take a little longer. Yeah, all right. We'll make a left here. Hopefully not get stuck in the mud. Come on, Citation, you can do it. Yeah. There we are. Alright, we'll put her right there for now. Parking brake, did it get set? Yeah, it did. Alright, let me run through the shutdown checklist. We'll catch up with the chat messages, and then we'll start getting ready for our return trip. We can get the recognition lights off. Let's get down here, one more view here. There we go. Recognition lights off. We can get the wing lights off. We didn't use them. Pitot and static I already did. We'll go to the throttle cutoffs. That is 1, 2, there. Sometimes those stick. Hopefully those are both winding down. They look like they are. Yeah, the number 1, you can see the number 1's kind of stuck, so we'll do the number 1 again. Up, down. There we go. I think we got them both now. Okay, so both engines are cut off. Beacon light then can come off there. Get the passenger safety lights on so y'all can start getting up, taking a little stretch break. There we are. Generators can come off. That's right. There we are. 1 and 2. 2 and 1 rather, I guess I should say. Transponder can go back to 1200. Whoops, that's the off switch. So there's 1200. Okay. And we'll go ahead and reconnect the ground power. Whoops, wrong. And we'll open up the doors. And then we'll check our fuel and ETA. So I had said 9:56 Eastern Time on the ground and 10:01 Eastern Time on the blocks. So we're a little early now. We knew we'd take off. What did we take off? About 10 minutes early? So we should have said 9:46 and 9:51 then, right? Well, we nailed that then, didn't we? God, we're right on the nose with that. So what's the predicted fuel? 2,950 pounds. Let's see what we've got. Oh, 3,006. Yeah, those are good. I don't think those predictions worked out really, really well, didn't they, guys? Melvin Leroy's going around. Oh, no. What happened? Don't see you, man. Oh, I do see you. Yeah, you're a little high. That's what I said, is the altitude management coming into this approach, man. You got to get it right. All right, so we've got the ground power connected, and let's just see how we did here. Ken said negative 170, and Trailer corrected his to a negative 95. David D said negative 195. Trailer says Jacksonville's got to staff it up Sunday in my hometown this weekend. Nice. David's the winner. And Ken Pryor was so close. David had it by 11. Ken had it by 14. Yeah, Ken's usually pretty good. He can read my mood just by the sound of my voice. So that's that law enforcement training there for you, Ken. You got me pegged, dude. I can't hide anything from you. David says, I think the DC-3 landing was around 150, so I figured the Citation would have a little more energy to lose on landing, or just a total swag. 255 knots is 293 miles per hour. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Al South is checked in. Al South, we just landed at Eagle County in Colorado, but you caught us in time for the return trip. We're going to head back to Ogden, Utah. So we're just going to go ahead and get started with that right now. As a matter of fact, we can run up back to the top of the list here. We'll start our second flight plan. We get Swift over here. Zap that over. We get to the flight plan page. Everything else is the same there. We're going to go KEGE. Departure time we think is going to be 10:25. 10:25 wheels up. I think we're going to bump. We'll bump 5 minutes off of that. So we'll go 02:20. So let me just adjust my planning spreadsheets here. All right, so we'll get a good timing prediction. Want to see how we do based on that 10:20 predicted wheels up time. We'll adjust as we go. The route for the return trip, it's very similar to almost a perfect reverse pattern. EKR3 to EKR, which is Meeker VOR. I'll show you the departure in just 1 second. J173 and TCH, and I'll show you again why that route works out the best when we get a look at it in SkyVector in just a moment here. Okay, Ogden, we think the estimated time en route is going to be an hour 2. Fuel on board at this point is 2 hours and 35 minutes. 02:35. Alternate is SLC. And remarks are the same. We'll go ahead and send that. And there it is. All right, let's look at it in SkyVector, shall we? Get it over here. Blank that out. KEGE to KOD. I can never get that right. Yeah, there we go. So it's the EKR3 to EKR, and the J173 to TCH. And you notice that the TCH and ECR were in our flight plan on the way out, so it's almost a perfect mirror image of the route. Oh, we got some weather over there too now. Have to watch out for that as we get back up there. Close that up. The Meeker 3. Whoops. Tell you what, let's do this. I like opening that in a new tab so we can keep the airport diagram and then the departure. So the departure is westbound and make a right turn. A left turn and then a big sweeping right turn to join this red table outbound VOR. And again, we'll tune that in on the nav radios just to have it as a backup in case the FMC doesn't pull it in properly, which is what we found coming out of Ogden. We join this point Melville at 15,000 or higher. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? And then out to Meeker 115.2. Again, we'll have that in our back pocket to navigate it via radio navigation if we have to. And again, the reason we're going to TCH is if you look at Ogden, and we'll just kind of keep a eye out for our friend Melvin Leroy here. We get to Ogden and we'll pull the airport diagram over there. Of course, it looks familiar. We started there. But just in case we need the ILS-3, I don't know what the landing direction is going to be at Ogden, but in case we need the ILS, it feeds off of this Wasatch VOR. So again, it makes sense to end our IFR route here, since this then connects in with the instrument procedure. So makes sense to have a route that goes to there if that is then the natural feeder into the instrument approach. So we'll figure out whether we're going to use that approach when we get there. For right now, we're going to rebrief the weather here at Eagle County. We'll hit METAR, ATC page, METAR again. Looks like it is the most up-to-date. So still 220 at 8, still 10 statute miles clear, still 3010, which is already what we have set. We'll verify that the field elevation is 6,547, so let's jump back into the plane and see what's reading 6551. So that's plus or minus 4 feet. We'll take it. All right. Set flight plan, check the METAR, set the barometer, verified field elevation. Comm radios are already set to 22.8. Let's just go ahead and jump into the ATC page and make sure, yeah, it's still nobody there. So that's still 22.8 for us. Nobody to obtain our clearance with, so once again, we'll set the transponder to 2200. That's a VATSIM for IFR, but not in controlled space. And it's already in mode Charlie. We'll go ahead and get the FMC set with our return route. If we go to the flight plan page and we put our new destination, our new origin in, let's see, that's KEGE. If I can find the K, there we are, KEGE. Pop that in there, it'll blank the rest out for us and we can start fresh. KOGD goes there. We're going to make our departure out of Eagle County via the Meeker 3. Oh, yeah, I forgot. 25 to the Meeker 3. Put that in the plan page. Next would be J173, J173 to TCH. Where's the T? There we are, TCH. And then arrivals into Ogden. We're going to assume the ILS-3 off TCH and put that in. And execute. I think that should do it. Legs. Yeah, so 6950 and then the radial 152 to Melville. We already saw all this, so we know that it's correct. And then to Meeker, then to Odus, and then to TCH. And then Joseph and Wolf has to be on here, right? Yeah, Joseph and Wolf. Missed approach, we'll brief when we get down to that point, but we can just check it now, and it is, in fact, direct OGD and then to the Moint intersection. So OGD and Moint. Okay, so that's all incorrectly. That is indeed correctly. And we'll go ahead and set a fix of KOGD. That'll give us, not only will it give us an overall distance to our flight, but it will also put in a 10-mile ring, and that's just a cue as to when we should be configuring for landing if we haven't already. So there we go. Back to the legs page. All right, I think we're good there. Again, we'll come to the front panel, we'll set the navigation range. I think I kind of liked it where it was. Well, that's okay, then we can see it there. That's good. HSI already has the wind vector. Initial altitude here is 15,000 again. Al says, nice, Eagle Airport, 30 minutes from Vail, and I go there almost every winter, says Al. Yeah, I've only ever been here in a virtual sense. I've been through Salt Lake City on a connection, so I've landed there and taken off from there, but I've never visited the city. But I have never set foot in Colorado. One thing I would like to do sometime soon, next time I get a chance to do some traveling. Initial altitude, so initial heading, let's look at the Meeker 3, and it says the initial heading is 219er. So we'll get that set over here. Oh, we went the short way. Go figure. 2-1, well there's 220 would be that line there, and we'll go one click to the left, and that's 219. The initial airspeed is always going to be that 225 knots. That's the initial climb speed. There we are. And then we'll get onto the autopilot panel. Yaw damper's already on. Let's see, shut all those off just to make sure we don't miss anything here. Yaw damper's on. Source is going to be on GPS. We're going to arm heading mode out off the runway. And altitude select in IAS mode. So that'll get us that 225 knot climb. And I explained earlier, the IAS mode in this plane, it's a pitch mode, not a throttle mode. You don't have an auto throttle. You set the throttle to the climb power that's recommended by the manufacturer. Or in our case, we just use 100% because I don't do all the pre-flight power planning that I should. I would just use 100 as a round figure. But you set the climb thrust, and then the plane will pitch the climb so that it matches that prescribed climb speeds, and that's what the IAS mode does. It automatically adjusts that pitch to maintain that climb speed. Trailder says, I rode through it once back in my teens in the military. At the time, headed to Travis Air Force Base in California. And Al South says, Eagle is a connection flight. It's more money, but you can save on the rental by using the shuttle. The drive through the mountains is amazing. I can only imagine. And I've said I've been over the Rockies in a plane, but I've never been on the ground there. Looking forward to going back to Las Vegas this June, though. Flight Sim Expo is returning to Las Vegas next year, and that was a good time in 2018, and I'm definitely going to try to be there for 2020. The only time I've ever seen a warning sign for a 360-degree curve. Yeah, I have not seen that. That sounds cool, though. Trailder is somebody, I'm in the transportation industry as a commercial bus driver and manager of charter buses. And so we've definitely done some mountain driving over here in the Appalachians, but I know that's nothing like what you all got over in the Rockies. So not really the same thing. But yeah, that'd be an awesome thing to try and manage in a big vehicle like that. Sounds like a fun one. Let's get this thing up and running. We said we were going to be wheels up by what? 10:20? Is that what I said? 10:20 Eastern Time? Yeah, let's try. We got 15 more minutes. We should be able to hit that. Don't need a pushback from our position. We're going to go ahead and get the doors closed here. So everybody in at this point, hopefully. Did Melvin Leroy ever make it down? What's going on with Melvin Leroy? Let's go ahead and get the doors closed and the baggage doors closed. I guess we would have closed the baggage doors first and then the main door, because whoever closed our baggage doors is now locked out of the plane. Oh well. Whoever you were, thank you for doing that. You're now going to be left behind. Alright, so the doors are closed. Let's disconnect the ground power unit. I guess I could have done that while I had that menu open. That would have been a good thing. The seatbelt light can get turned on. That is down here. So hard to find that click spot. There we go. Ding ding. They're hiding in the gear holding openings. Yeah, well, like I said, we've got more people on the stream tonight than we've got seats on the plane, so going to have to stash them somewhere. Alright, so seatbelt light's on. Beacon light can come on. That's down here. We don't need a pushback, like I said, so we can skip that. We'll start with the number 2, fuel boost, continuous ignition, starter. We'll come over here. We'll pull the retainer clip that allows us to to bring it out of cutoff. And the very top of the screen, it might be just halfway off the top of the screen for you guys. Turbine speed gets up to 20. Go ahead and dump the fuel in. We will watch the fuel pressure come up. That's the far upper right. I'm sorry, I say that every time, fuel pressure. It's oil pressure. That's coming up right away, as it should. Turbine temperature is spiking, but it is still in the green, and hopefully it will peak right there and start to settle back in, and it is. So we are good. We've got a good clean start on the number 2. We'll turn the continuous ignition off and the fuel pump off, and we'll start the same process on the number 1 side. Pump, ignition, starter. Pull the cutoff clip. Very top of the screen, you can see it 15, 16, 17%. Gets up to 20. We'll go ahead and pull the throttle up out of the cutoff position. There we are. Get back over here where we can see the oil pressure come up, not the fuel pressure, the oil pressure in the upper right. Going up through the red now and starting to get into the yellow range. The turbine temperature comes all the way up near that yellow range, but it starts to settle back in, and we know we're good to go. Then we've got a good start on number 1, so we can turn the fuel boost pump off and the ignition switch off there. Oh, one thing I did forget to do was turn the generator on as we got the power to the right. Get that on the left as well, and then we'll check that we've got power from the right side and the left side, and we do, and we are good. The pitot static will come back on. All the warnings on the panel should be now extinguished, and they are. Flight controls, we'll just assume that they have been checked at this point. Somebody outside will tell us we are good. Recognition light comes on. That's basically our taxi light, and then our flaps will get set to takeoff, which is 7 degrees, and we are ready. Is that Melvin Leroy on final? Alright, well, we'll taxi out, but we'll hold short and we'll watch him land. Maybe he'll do a touch and go and follow us right back, or maybe he'll do a touch and go and then we'll follow him back. Taxiing out to 25, so we're going to make a right turn when we get up to the taxiway here. Pretty simple airport layout. We got a main runway and a main parallel taxiway here on the GA side. And then over on the north side is the military. I presume it's the Air National Guard. Don't really remember. I don't have the chart in front of me. Al South just sent the longest link in the world. Apparently it is a Google Maps link, a Google Places link. No worries, sir. Yep, that's Mr. Melvin Leroy. It looks like he's a little bit better with the altitude control this time. Yeah, and I did say it earlier on. This is one that you got to get the altitude and speed management correct. We'll check our brakes real quick. Brakes are good. Probably should have done that earlier. And we'll check the reversers too. Should see 3 whites on left and upper right, and we're good there. Looking much better this time, Melvin Leroy. Looking much better. Kind of looked like a little bounce there, but I think that was an altitude correction from Swift. I know Melvin Leroy is a P3D user, so his scenery may be different than ours, and that might have been what we saw there, was a Swift correcting the ground elevation. I doubt he really bounced it like that. But we'll watch his stream later, and we'll see if maybe I'm wrong. Alright, back into the cockpit. We'll continue our taxi out here. And we'll go ahead and get the continuous ignition switches on. And then I think we're ready. We'll just get some lights rolling as soon as we get down there. Take one last check. Still no ATC on in this area. That's alright. I've got the company of my friends. What more could I ask for? Bear with me for 1 second while I do a little decongesting. I'm going to mute the mic for that. I said mute the mic for that. And as I muted the mic to decongest, Trailder provided the closed captioning for the hearing impaired, so thank you for that. Yes, Al South. It's all about the company. We do it all for the company. I'm still a little congested. I'm sorry, guys. Let's do one more honk here. Alright, hope to God you didn't hear that. Alright, departure frequency is preset. Since we're already on 22.8, we can get the TCAS on here. I can find the click spot for it. There we are. I don't know what the quick line is, but we'll hold short here. That's a TCAS. Get the landing lights and the anti-collision light, which is over there, and we're ready to go. Presumably, the quick line is where, I mean, I'm guessing, just based on the context, but you'd kind of do what I just did. You'd hold short there, get everything preset, and then by the time you're given your takeoff clearance, you pretty much just roll and just roll through it without stopping. I don't know. I really don't know. I'd have to look that up. If anybody knows what that quick align, hold short line means, I have a guess. So if you're guessing as well, then that's fine. But if you happen to know what that quick align, hold short line really means, would appreciate the insight. It's the first time I've happened to notice that, actually. Alright. We get lined up. Everything should be set. Temps and pressures all in the green. We'll set our takeoff power of 100. Now this happened to us last time as well. We get the master caution or the master warning on the second takeoff. Everything appears to be set correctly. Airspeed is alive. We'll rotate at 100 knots. Gear comes up. We'll start that left turn. Takeoff time is 10, so we'll say quarter after 10. So 5 minutes early, we'll have to remember that. Alright, we're at 1,000 AGL. We can go ahead and pull the flaps in. Master warning just let me reset at that time, so hopefully that means we're okay. And we're going to lower the nose and start getting that speed up. But we're going to watch this terrain coming up here. 190 155 is the initial climb, so we'll pitch to that. We're not going to necessarily hit that 225 knot climb just yet. For 10,000, we can get landing lights and recognition lights off. I think we're okay with that terrain now. And I'm manually going to turn onto the next leg here on the navigation display. And since we're good now, I'm going to go ahead and start lowering the nose and start pitching for that 225 knot climb. Catch up with the chat messages in just a few, so I'm going to finish this departure procedure by hand. Get the nose lowered, and we'll get auto taking care of that climb management for us. Alright, so let's get this. Oh, snapped us into that roll, didn't it? Alright, so we got 100 thrust, 100 rotation, autopilot on, ignition off. What did I miss? Oh, flaps up. Well, of course we did that. Alright. Auto's getting us off course here because I still have it in heading mode. Let's get us back to the charted magenta line there. Then we'll throw it back into nav mode. Trailer says back as we were departing. Trailer says I worked 3 decades in construction with so much mason and sheetrock and dirt dust in my sinuses that I still honk loudly when I clear them. Yeah, my sinus has been bad since birth, dude. I don't really know that I have an environmental reason to blame. Okay, we're 1 to go, but we can go ahead and presume we're cleared up to our cruise at 240. Either that or it means the clothes are about done in the dryer. Oh, you know what? I do have clothes in the washer. Take a break from the cockpit and scoot them over to the dryer as soon as we get stabilized here on a departure. Yeah, so my sinuses have just been bad since birth, so I don't have anything I can blame on it except genes, but and not the kind that are in the dryer. But I did come down with kind of a cold or a sinus thing this past week, which made it worse than even normal, so I'm still kind of getting over that. Trailer says, I just know that I'm supposed to stop at them and await tower and ground clearance. Yeah, talking about the stop line. So the hold short line that I was at seemed like it was marked differently, and there was a regular hold short line right there by the end of the runway. But then there was that additional hold short line that was marked quick align or something like that. So I don't know what that means. But it was definitely different than the normal hold short line. So I don't know, maybe I have to look that one up. Al South says, the sounds on that aircraft are nice. Yeah, I love this little model, man. It's the Carenado Citation S550. And we'll go ahead and get this thing in nav mode now. The Carenado S550 Citation 2. Citation is 1970s, 1980s business jet. And really beautifully modeled. The FMC, I believe, is the X-plane default FMC, so I don't know that it's 100% faithful to the avionics that were in the actual airplane or are in the actual airplane. I guess a lot of these are still flying. So I don't know how faithful the FMC is. I find it easy enough to work with. It's got a few little quirks. Particularly, you have to select the departure runway before you select the departure procedure. But if you kind of get to know what the thing's little quirks are, it's not too bad to work with once you get the hang of it. And again, kind of learning how the vertical mode worked with the autopilot airspeed hold. Yeah, so since it doesn't have an auto throttle, it kind of took me a couple tries to figure out how to set that IAS hold, and once I figured out that it was a pitch mode and not a throttle mode, it made a lot more sense. And then again on the descents, what I keep doing, what I keep forgetting when I put it into vertical speed mode to descend, is I forget to hit that altitude select again, and so therefore I keep blowing through my my assigned altitudes because I keep forgetting to do that. So that's the one big thing on the descents that I keep forgetting. We're through 19,000 now, so we'll go ahead and set the standard altimeter to 902. And same down here on the analog, 2992. Having trouble seeing that one. Is that 2992? Yeah, okay, good. So we got off about 5 minutes earlier than we planned, so I'm going to adjust that in my spreadsheet here, 2205. Because we were wheels up, yeah, 2205 push time, and then it automatically adds 10 minutes, so the wheels up time was quarter after 10 Eastern. So that is now what's in my spreadsheet, and hopefully we'll get a good prediction of our touchdown time, which is supposed to be 11:17 Eastern, so we'll see how close we are to that. Al says it sounds similar to the Beechcraft King Air, the King Air 90. Yeah, I haven't messed with that, Al, so I don't know, and I don't know that I've watched any streamers fly it. I can't remember. I think Cockpit Builder's King Air is a King Air 250, I believe. I'm not 100% certain. So he's the only one I've watched in a King Air with any regularity. But I do know that this is a cool little jet, man. I really have enjoyed it ever since I picked it up about a year ago now, actually. Well, no, it wouldn't have been a year ago. When did I pick it up? Was it in the spring? Because I just started flying X-plane around a year ago now, or somewhere around last September, October. Probably October is when I started flying in X-plane, so that's been almost a year. I think it was probably early spring by the time I got the, or late fall possibly. I'll have to check. If you go back through the YouTube channel and do a search for Myrtle Beach, I think that was the first place I took it. KMYR, a Kilo Mike Yankee Romeo. I think that's the first place I took this thing on my maiden voyage. We should be about one to go here, so the clothes are just about done. There we go. Trailder says, I've watched the Airfoil Labs King Air 350. So sweet. Want one, but $49? Gotta wait for Christmas. Ooh, that's steep for a GA plane. I guess if it's really that good, it's worth it. Myrtle, oh yeah, I live there. Drive by that airport taking my wife to breakfast. Gotcha, yeah. So we're Baltimoreans, and so we normally vacation in Ocean City, Maryland. But for 3 years running, in I guess the early 2000s, my parents, for whatever reason, decided they were tired of Ocean City. So 3 years in a row, we did Myrtle Beach, and it's nice. We found that it's basically Ocean City except for 7 more hours away from Baltimore. A lot of Marylanders vacation down there. I don't know why. I found it very similar to Ocean City, Maryland, except for further away. But I guess it's warmer more throughout the years, being so much further south. Bike weeks, okay. Interactive stuff I like, yeah, I got you. So I love Ocean City, Maryland. I spend a lot of time down there. So my parents now co-own a unit in a building down in Ocean City, Maryland. So I get to spend quite a bit of time down there on the cheap, which is nice. But I'm not a beach person. I go down for restaurants, and I go down for, not Bike Week necessarily, but they do have all kinds of neat stuff, firefighter conventions, and the festivals, Spring Fest and Summer Fest. and a lot of cool events. I like going down there for 4th of July. They've got an air show, an annual air show there now in June, normally on Father's Day weekend. Of course, this year it'll be the same weekend as Flight Sim Expo, so that's a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, Ocean City, Maryland's got a lot of cool stuff to do, and I don't like the beach, but the balcony that my parents has overlooks the beach, which is cool, because it is nice and relaxing to sit out there and read and watch the waves crash, all that kind of stuff. If you ever get down this way, give a shout out. I'll buy you a Red Bull and cook some burgers on the grill. Yeah, man. Oh, I'm a griller. I'm definitely a griller. And don't even. We're not gonna open this can of worms. Except I'm gonna say, you better be talking charcoal, dude. I'm gonna leave it at that. Better be talking charcoal. I'm a grill snob. Good job. There you go. Yeah, I'm a bit of a grill snob. You're cooking outside on gas, you might as well just do it on your stovetop burner. Yeah, man. And medium rare or bust, by the way. Can of worms number 2 opened. Taste the meat, not the heat. Nations P. Riley. I love it. I've never heard it said that way. But, yeah, man. Exactly. After my heart. Oh, so just past Moo. No. I do like it if it stops bleeding, but still got to have a little bit of red in there, man. Melvin Leroy says, sorry I wasn't able to make the return leg. The go-around killed me, and then the Mrs. First Officer came in and, yep, gave the old cutoff sign. I gotcha. Understood, man. Well, appreciate you flying along with us. I hope that you streamed it. I love watching our flights from a different perspective, so if you did, I'll certainly probably watch that in my travels this coming week, so hope that you did. But, again, always good to have you along, and tell the missus I said I'm sorry. Yeah, Trailer. Melvin Leroy is a good guy. He also does a general aviation stream. He does some airliner flying too. I think he kind of is after my own heart. He does some airliner flying, but a lot of vintage airliners. And then he does a lot of general aviation stuff too, and DC-3 and Duke, the Beechcraft Duke, and the Phenom jet, and a couple other. GA. He does some flights in the the Twin Otter, right? Yeah, he's got a real good stream there. So a lot of if you're into kind of the GA / vintage stuff that I'm into, Melvin Leroy's are another great source for it. All right, so let's see where we are from a progress standpoint here. We are still 166 miles from Odus, and then another 17 to Wasatch. So we got some time before I got to start descent planning. I'm going to pop out. I'm going to do another little decongest and grab another drink and throw the clothes into the dryer like I said before. Trailer says, was it Flight Simulator 2000, 02, or 04 that had all those vintage planes? Yeah, 2004 was called A Century of Flight. That's FS9 or Flight Simulator version 9. FS9, aka FS 2004. That was the one that had all the historical planes. It basically had, one or two planes from each era of aviation, since it was essentially celebrating the 100th anniversary of the first powered manned flight. So that's the one. Melvin Leroy says, quoting Downwind Sim, where the wobble pump is your most advanced feature. Yeah, man. That's the old stick and rudder flying, that's for sure. Got the CDs in my software box. Yeah, I think I've still got a copy of it floating around here somewhere. Was my first experience with tail draggers, says Trailer. Yes, indeed. And they're no piece of machinery to be trifled with here on X-Plane. They're a little bit more of a handful on X-Plane than even really they should be. But But yeah, still a lot of fun. Of course, I do a lot of flying in that Aeroworks Douglas DC-3. And yeah, the slightest bit of crosswind, and it's a problem child. It needs to be beaten into submission, kind of like a helicopter. And I've spun one around like a helicopter too. You guys have probably seen it. All right, so I'm going to duck out and get that laundry taken care of. Do a little more decongesting, grab another drink. Be back with you in the cockpit. Just a few. I don't want to be too long because we do need to start. Yeah, Trailer says I love my choppers. I do a little bit of helicopter flying, but not too often and not too well. But every now and then the bug bites me. I don't think I have to think. I don't think I've done any helicopter flying on stream. I just don't feel qualified enough to let others watch it. I do a lot of cursing, and I try to keep the stream family friendly, not because I'm a prude by any means, but because I actually do occasionally have family watching this stream. So I do try to keep it a little off of the raunchy side, PG-13 maybe. Melvin Leroy is hosting us with a viewer. Thank you for that, Melvin Leroy, and I appreciate you again flying along with us. So yeah, I do a little bit more cursing than I'm comfortable with on stream when I fly helicopters. So, but anyway, yeah. So let me pop out for just a few and get a couple things here at the Slant Alpha household taken care of, and then we'll come back. We'll start a weather briefing and start figuring out what we're doing as far as the descent goes, and come on right on back into Salt Lake City and Ogden, Utah, in just a few. Sit tight. Alrighty, back with you. So trailer, and was thinking about it as I was walking around. 03, 04, and 05 were the 3 years that we came down and spent the week in Myrtle Beach. And in fact, it wasn't actually Myrtle Beach, it was Surfside Beach, just south of Myrtle, just south of the airport, which is where we stayed for the week, the 3 times that we came down. And I'm sure you're familiar, but I'll just say for the benefit of others, the airport is about 10 minutes south of Myrtle Beach itself, and then Surfside Beach is maybe another 5 to 10 minutes south of that. So airport's, Surfside's about 15 minutes from the main part of town, and airport's about halfway in between. We did a helicopter tour out of that airport, which was really cool. But yeah, 03, 04, and 05, so it's been over 14 years now since I've been down that way. Now, my parents' best friends, my mom's best friend from high school, that she's kept in touch with all these years, and they were close enough family that my sister and I called them aunt and uncle growing up. They just moved down to South Carolina. I believe they're in Conway, which I know is one of the towns that we passed through as we were coming up on Myrtle Beach, maybe about a half an hour before you get out to the coast, you pass through Conway. So that's where they live. So not inconceivable that we would get down that way again at some point. And then I think my parents are talking about retiring to that area. I think, actually was talking to them yesterday. I think if they retire, they're going to go down to Florida probably. Well, I take that back. They're both retired, but they're still in the area. For family reasons, but yeah, I think when they finally decide to jet out of the Maryland area, I think they were talking most recently about St. Augustine, Florida. Dad, I think, said he wanted to go. He was talking about wanting to go to Norfolk, Virginia, or Virginia Beach, because he wanted to be near the Navy base. Big Navy nut, my dad. Of course, my grandfather was actually a pilot for the United States Navy in World War II. That's his uniform hat and his leather flight helmet that hang there to my left off of the lamp. And he was certainly one of my inspirations as I got involved in the hobby of aviation. So I'm fortunate that I have those artifacts from him. But yeah, so he was originally talking, Dad was, about retiring to Virginia Beach, or somewhere there in the Norfolk area. But I think then they were talking about Myrtle Beach area, South Carolina, and now I think they want to go to St. Augustine area because they want to be near the cruise ports of Florida, because they're going to spend a lot of time in their retirements on cruises. I can't say I blame them. Been on a couple myself, and they're a good time. Alright, now let's go ahead and start planning our arrival into Ogden, Utah. Let's come back over here. We don't need the Meeker 3 departure. And we don't, we probably should hang on to that one. We don't need the airport diagram at Eagle County. We can use that one, we can use that one. Let us, first of all, let's come back here. And remember, we're not slant alpha as we come into Ogden. We can do an RNAV approach, but the RNAV approach really only gives us the same thing that the ILS does. It gives us an approach into runway 3. So really, the only instrument approach we've got is to 3. And if we then need to circle, do we have circling minimums here? Are we able to do? Yeah, we are able to do a circle if we need to do an ILS 3 and then break off and circle to another runway that's more favorable for winds. So that's what we'll plan on. ILS 3 and then circle to whatever we need here. But let's pull up the winds at Ogden. When we took off, the winds were favoring 19er. OGD, I always forget what order those letters go in. 170, or I'm sorry, yeah, 17 was the runway. 170, 18 gusting to 23. So that really hasn't changed. 29er73 is the altimeter. So 29er73. We'll go ahead and set that down here in the analog just to have it preset and then that'll be a nice reference for us to remember without having to pull up Swift again. We have that set there, 2973. So that'll help us later on remember what we need to set it to as we descend through 18,000. SLANT Alpha, SLANT Lima equipment codes. Yes, so SLANT Alpha means radio navigation only, radio navigation with DME. So you're only navigating with VORs, ILSs, NDBs, and DME, distance measuring equipment. SLANT Lima means that you've got a full GPS, FMS, and that sort of thing. Now, actually, to get really technical, non-RNAV navigation, VOR with DME, would be SLANT Alpha if you're below, at or below 2,000, or yeah, below 29,000 feet. Once you get at or above 29,000 feet, you're into what they call reduced vertical separation. Reduced vertical separation minimums, meaning that that you still have 1,000 foot intervals between opposing flight levels. So that's kind of the breaking point. Below that, you're SLANT Alpha. Above that, you're SLANT Whiskey. And then if you do have a GPS, FMC, you're able to do RNAV navigation. Below 290, it's SLANT Golf. And above that, it's SLANT Lima. Now, of course, all that's going to change when VATSIM finally migrates over to the ICAO flight plan codes, where you're going to have all kinds of different codes. You're going to have like a whole jumble of characters to be able to tell ATC what you're capable of and what you're not. So FAA code's kind of obsolete at this point. But yeah, for right now, SLANT Alpha means radio navigation and below 290, and SLANT Lima means GPS and or FMC and or INS or whatever other direct to navigation you're able to do, as well as flying in reduced vertical separation minimum in airspace. Yep, and we're not going to rename the channel either, since we're all about vintage here. We'll just continue to refer to the channel by the obsolete name, because heck, most of what we do here is obsolete, isn't it? Alright. So what do we say? 170? So we got a runway 17. So I think that's what we'll do, is we'll fly the ILS-3, and then we'll break off into a left downwind. I'm not sure exactly where we'd break off. Probably inbound of that Wolf point. But at some point, we got visual with the runway. We'll break off. We'll do a right downwind into runway 17. So that's our plan. ILS-3 circling 17. See how that goes. We've got the FMC set up already. We'll get that tuned in, 111.7 and 034. I guess the first thing we ought to do is really determine where our top of descent should be. So after Wasatch, we're supposed to be at 8,000, and we're 240 now. So (24 minus 8), we've got 16,000 to lose, 3.5 miles. So 56 miles is how much we need to descend. However, look at this. We've got almost a 16-mile leg between Wasatch and Joseph, where we can also be descending. We got, almost 16 miles there. Oops, I closed the browser. But anyway, so again, if we subtract 16, because we're going to pass over Wasatch and still have 16 miles to go, well, guess what? We're right at that 40 miles. So that should be familiar if you watch the first part of the stream, 40 miles prior to our major waypoint. And now I've got to load all that stuff back up. Whoopsie. So that's okay. Sky Vector. Sky Vector, thank God, it has the still has the route in there. Says we're going to be coming over some weather before we get there, but maybe we're well above it. I don't know. But we'll have to keep an eye out for that. But then we'll pull up the pull up the FAA page again, and we'll go back to Ogden. Okay. And what do we have? We have the ILS-3 and the airport diagram. So there we go. We got everything back. All right. So 40 miles prior to Wasatch. Let's see how we are in relation to that. So instead of having to do the math, 61 and 17, let's just do what we did before. We'll go to the fixed page, or the next one, we'll put in TCH, and we'll get that nice distance countdown at the bottom of that page. Whoops, which one of these do we want? Yeah, we want the one we're 76 miles from, not the one that we're 3,000 miles from. So that way, yeah, we see the distance now in the upper center of the screen at the bottom of that display, distance 75. So that'll give us a nice good countdown, 74 now. So when that gets to 40, that's when we'll start heading down. And again, let's go ahead and get the altitude set to 8,000 now, because that's the mistake I made on the leg in. Of course, we're going to set that target altitude, but we're not going to change the current flight mode, so it's not really going to start descending until we take further action. But get that set nice and early so that we don't forget that. We'll continue briefing the approach now. Let's get this all dialed in. 111.7 and 034. Pardon me again. 111.7. We'll get that set on the nav radios. 111 and 7. And just for good measure, 111 and 7. One thing I didn't do last time that I should have is I should pre-tune, just in case we need it for the missed approach. Ogden VOR is on 115.7, so we'll get that preset here just in case we need it. It's in the standby frequency of the nav1 just in case we need it, and the missed approach procedure is in the FMC. We did check that. However, you know, we saw at the very beginning of the stream tonight how the FMC sometimes is stubborn and doesn't want to let you do what you want it to do. So always have the radio navigation ready to go as a backup. Alright, now again, we got to set the course to 034. A quirk of this aircraft, and I don't know if it's true of the real one, but it's definitely true of the virtual one, is that you can't set the radio course if you've got it in GPS mode. So we've got a couple steps to do here to get around that. Again, it may not be realistic, but it's what we have to do in this model. Is we got to set it into heading mode. Then we'll set this to nav. Looks like the heading was a couple degrees off, so we'll adjust back there. Okay, so we got it in nav, and now we can set the radio course, which was 034, and of course, yeah, going the long way around again, as I tend to do. But there we go, 034. Alright, and now we can set that back to GPS. And it looks like we've wandered a couple degrees off course, but that's okay. We'll put it back in the nav mode. The plane will get us back onto that magenta line for us. Alright, so radio is now set, 111.7.034. We got the FMC set. We've got the missed approach verified. We do know, for our purposes here, that the missed approach is 4,900 feet, and then a left turn 9,000 direct to Ogden, and then out to Ogden on the 263 to Moyt. So we've got kind of a multi-step procedure there. But just to draw it out for you, if you did have to go missed off of 3, now remember, we're going to circle in and go to 17, but still this procedure would apply. So climb and then left, direct Ogden, and then out to Moyt to join that hold. And that hold, I've cut it off by accident, but it's it'll be a hold course kind of that way and that way. Anyway, so we'll keep that in mind. Hopefully we don't need it. We did check the winds. We know the winds are favorable to 17. In fact, they're right up the runway at 170, 18 gusting to 23. So we've got good winds for the runway that we're circling to. We will have a crosswind as we're coming down final approach course, but that will be mostly managed for us by Otto. So Otto will take note as he navigates in that we're going to have a right to left crosswind, a crosswind coming from 170. So a right to left crosswind down final approach course, but then a gusting wind down the center line as we make that break off and circle in. Cloud cover was reported as clear, so we shouldn't have any issues with the minimums. Minimums are for circling minimums 407 feet above ground level. So we'll go ahead and set that. That's one thing that we forgot to do on the approach into Eagle County, is set the decision height. Now the decision height here, since it's referred to as a height and not an altitude, that means it's above ground level. It's a radio altimeter, so we'll set it to that 400, not the 4880 above sea level. Actually, it's 407, so we'll set it to 410. So again, just to explain that. And actually, I guess, are we a category B or a category C? Well, their numbers are pretty much the same either way, so we don't have to worry about it. We might be a category C. I forget the thresholds for that. But either way, 4880 above sea level, but on this aircraft, the decision height, DH, since it's a decision height and not a decision altitude, you know that that means height above ground, which is 407, so we've dialed it in as 410. Last thing is the VREF. That's based on the anticipated landing weight. So it's 108 knots minus 4 knots for every 1,000 pounds below maximum you think you're going to be. And in this case, that means that the VREF is going to be, where is it? VREF is going to be 97 knots. So we'll go ahead and spin the heading bug down, or I mean the airspeed bug down to 97. Now, what I had said about the V approach, you take that, so there's 100 there. 1, 2, 3 clicks makes it 97. Now the V approach, you take the sustained wind and cut it in half. The sustained wind is 18, so we're going to cut that in half, and that's 9, but it's 18 gusting to 23. So that's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So the gusts are 5 knots. So we're going to take 9 and 5, and that's 14. So we'll add 14, and that'll be our approach speed. So 97 will be our VREF over the numbers. 111 is going to be kind of a high approach speed down the final approach course. So we'll have some speed management to do on the final. So 111 and then 97. When you got gusty winds like that, you just want to have that extra speed down the final approach course, just in case you get shoved around by the wind. You don't want to end up in a stall. The wind suddenly changes from full-on front to full-on back. You know, normally as the wind changes, your airspeed doesn't change because you're still going through the wind at the same speed. It's just the wind moves differently. But when the wind changes suddenly like that, your inertia can change that that speed through the wind, that speed through the air. So. Alright, where are we? 21 miles. Oh, we're late. So let's go ahead and get that descent started. Whoopsie doodle. Vertical speed. Really good, good fast descent going. Hopefully we'll get caught up. Not forget to hit the altitude select this time. So yeah, I goofed that up. Missed the top of the descent. we can help that. We can start pulling the airspeed down. That will help us reduce the amount of distance we cover while we're descending, so we will not be as late. Trying to bump the map range up a notch or two as well. Alright, so again, I think when I got up to cruise, I forgot to turn the seatbelt lights off. I did. Seatbelt lights are now off. You got 15 seconds to run to the bathroom. Alright, you're done. Get back in your seats. Yep, sorry about that, guys. So we're about to pass through 18,000. We're going to go ahead and preset the barrel a little early, but it was 2973. Again, I got it set on the analog already, just as a reminder, but now we got it set on both. And again, we're going to do it early, but we'll go ahead and get the landing lights and the recognition lights on as well, just so I don't have to worry about it later as I'm starting the descent, the approach. That's why one should carry an extra wide mouth bottle for when the pilot forgets that light. No, then you just get up anyway. Hey, jerk! I'm getting up and pee. Because I've actually seen the bathroom in these Citations. They're not real spacious. So you kind of probably want to hold it if you can anyway. Yeah, so we're going to kind of keep the speed down to about 210 knots. And that'll help. We're still going to be late on that descent, I think. Yeah, so there's the VOR, the Wasatch VOR. And it's that next point after it. Joseph, we got another 16 miles. Should be, that's a 6,000. I thought the chart said 8,000 there. Oh, okay, so it's 8,000 at Joseph and then 6,000 at Wolf. Alright, so we might be able to catch up to the descent by Wolf. Yeah, so that's actually incorrect in the FMC. It should be 8,000 at Joseph and 6,000 at Wolf. That's why you go by the chart. What's a pilot do when they gotta go? You hold it. Or said another way, what's a pilot do when they gotta go? Depends. Kudos to you if you got that joke. All the old guys are laughing, all the young guys are going, hold on, what did I miss? Alright, so we might have to enter a hold here. Might have to spin ourselves to get down to Wolf by 6,000. You know, I tell you what, we're going to continue in because remember, we're not following this ILS to the runway. We're going to break off and circle to the north and then a right downwind. So we've got some extra distance to lose some altitude. So we're okay. Still not ideal. I wish I'd started that descent 40 miles prior to the VOR like I intended to, but because we've got that extra distance to go, I think we're going to be all right. You can see we're on essentially an extended right base here now for that runway 3. And again, we've already kind of done the 10,000 foot checklist items. Got the landing lights and recognition lights on. So what did I say? What's the turning point? What's the turning point, Wolf? No, the turning point's Joseph, so we should be at 8,000 by Joseph. We might actually make that. How much further we got to that? Another 5 miles. Yeah, we might actually make that. We're going to be a little high, but we still might make the 6,000 at Wolf. What I will do, though, let's pull the throttles down. Let's get down to about 170 knots. We'll get the first notch of flaps out. Having trouble losing that airspeed, so we'll lower the descent rate just a little bit. Now we're going down to 6. We'll dial that in here. Still having trouble losing the speed, so let's travel the descent a little more. I'd say we got our runway in sight. Of course, that's runway 3. We're going to circle to runway 17. And we got 170. We'll get that first notch of flaps set. Speed's still coming down. We're aiming for about 140, and then we'll do our start doing our break off here. Yeah, it's yelling at us because the gear's not down yet. Add a little throttle back in, that'll shut that up. Alright, 140. Oops. Go ahead and get that second notch of flaps. And I'm going to go ahead and hand fly the rest of it, so bear with me on the chat messages from here on in, guys. We're losing some speed. We're going to get the nose up here. And get that speed back up to about 140. And the circling minimum was about 48 and change. We'll say 40. We'll say 5,000 feet. I don't want to climb. Say 5,000 feet, but we're going to go to 350. That'll be our downwind. I apologize for the flaps kind of adjusting, guys. That's just stuttery control there. We'll get that third notch of flaps in just a few. You'll stop hearing that. But yeah, we're going to turn to about a 350. And we'll continue the descent down to about 5,000 feet. That's one to go to 6, but yeah, we're good to go down to our minimum of 5,000 or 4,800.
2,500.
I'm going to set the missed approach altitude of 9,000 on the altitude select now. Just holding by hand that 350, that basically that right downwind for runway 17. And trailer, I apologize, I'm not really going to be able to look at that message right now, but we'll catch up on that when we get down. The green ring on the navigation display represents a 10-mile ring around the airport, so that's going to be a good reference as far as, you know, trying to stay within that ring in this little maneuver here. We don't want to circle too far out. Go ahead and start a right base. Got the nose too high up. Field elevation is basically 4,500 feet, so we're at kind of 1,500 feet. Let the speed slip down a little bit. We're trying to want to keep it around 140. Whoops. Oh, there we are. Oh, overshot. Let's do a nice tight turn. Not too tight now. We don't want to stall. We don't want to gain altitude either. Get the nose down. We can get gear. Last notch of flaps in. Yeah, a little high. Do our best. Remember, it's 97, and I think what was the V approach 116. Yeah, we're a little slow. A little slow. We got some altitude to lose too. So.
Sink rate.
Yeah, I know. Oh, there's that goalpost. Alright, before we stall this thing, let's get that airspeed back up. There we go. Alright, landing rate predictions, if you got them, guys. I apologize, I didn't mention that before, but what, is that our runway over there? Yeah, there we go. Nope, that's not it either. Is it? I'm all confused, guys. Where the heck's my airport? Ah, I see it now. That was almost a doozy. That was almost a real interesting one. Alright, now let's try it. Airspeed's still low. I want to keep it up to about 111 or something. I think it was like something in that range. Yeah, that was ooh. That was almost a real fun ending to that flight.
1,000.
Still trying to get some excess altitude off. Aiming for 97 knots over the numbers. I think we've got that.
500.
Got that. So as we pitch up, I'm going to add some thrust. Make sure we don't lose that speed. All right. Minimums continuing. We finally got it stable. I think probably just in time. I can feel those gusts. Yeah, that wasn't the best circling approach, guys.
100.
But I think we got it under control now.
50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
There we go. Set it down a little smoother that time. 150 was the winning rate. Speed's down through 40. We'll cancel the reversers, spoilers, and flaps. Make the left-hand turn off here. Can't quite see where I am. Yeah, it was real sloppy on the circling. Lost my bearings as to where I was. But once we got it figured out, didn't look too bad after that. See if we can catch a taxiway sign. What does this say? Juliet? Okay, so we're off 17 on Juliet. Which I don't see on the map, so it might have, taxiways may have changed. So we'll just kind of have to wing it here. I think downwind sim was the winner. We'll get the landing lights off and the anti-collision lights off. So this is Juliet and Bravo. Yeah, so there's an extra taxiway that's not on the diagram here. But looks like there's some GA parking straight ahead, so that's what we'll do. Alright, let's check on the taxi-in checklist here. We stowed the reversers, flaps, and spoilers. We got the landing lights off. Got the anti-collision light off, I believe we did as well. Got the continuous ignition off. And we can turn the TCAS off. Okay. That is done. We will check on the big winner of the landing rate prediction in just a moment. Looks like, oh, it looks like it's downwind sim. I'll read back through the messages in just a few, guys. Let me get the plane parked and shut down, and then I'll catch up with all that in just a moment. Yeah, so the circling was pretty sloppy, and again, it tends to happen to me in places that I'm not familiar with, and just lose sight of the runway or lose sight of the airport, and not good at picking up the visual references. And again, I think also sometimes what happens is that 3J FPS wizard at the top of the screen starts taking away some of the landmarks to keep the frame rates acceptable, and that takes away some of the visual references at the airport that I could use. So not to make excuses. Part of it's just crappy pilot technique, but I do think sometimes those visual cues appear and disappear because of the frame rates, and we end up having issues because of that. Just kind of park over here out of the way. Alright, that'll do, pig. Go ahead and get a little bit of a rough stop there. Go ahead and get the parking brake on. Did it? Yep, it did. Okay, good. Alright, what else we need to do? Get the recognition light off. Let's go down here. Yep, okay, recognition light off. Get the pitot and static heat off. Throttles can go into cutoff. Let's see. Let's do that. See if they both did. Nope, neither of them did. Alright, let's try that. There we go. Yeah. So I think this is just a bug in the Carenado that the cutoffs don't necessarily work the first time through. But we're good now. They're cut off. We'll get the beacon light turned off. Get the passenger safety lights. Now you can all get up for sure. Up. There we go. Get the generator shut off right and left. Get the squawk code set back to 1200. We can actually turn the transponder all the way off now. Alright, we'll get the ground power unit connected. And the main door open, baggage doors open. And we'll check our fuel and ETA. So ETA was 11:17 Eastern on the blocks at 11:22. I'd say we nailed that dead center. And predicted fuel left over 1,560. So let's see how we did there. Again, guys, if you ever wanted to know how I do the math on that, there is a YouTube video on the channel. 1701. What did I say? Set 1560. Okay, so we got about 140 extra pounds of fuel. It's not a bad thing, but it's certainly within tolerable limits. So there's a video on the YouTube channel that explains the math that I used to come up with those predictions if you ever wanted to see. So feel free to go ahead and check that out if you'd like to. To get the rest of this thing shut down, let's get the gear anti-skid off. The passenger safety lights can come back into the neutral position. Nav lights can come off. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Where's the nav lights? That's down there. Avionics is here. Panel lights weren't used. We can turn the AC power off though, and then the battery off, and I think we should be golden. We'll get the ground power. We'll shut the baggage doors and the main door, and there we have it, guys. Oh, you know what else we can do? We can reset the static elements. Engine covers, cones, and all that fun stuff. I don't see the... Oh, yeah, the cones are there. Alright, very good. So there we are. Back safe and sound on the ground in Ogden, Utah. So welcome back, gentlemen. Thank you for tagging along in the the Slant Alpha Slant Lima flight, a little ski trip, and a quick turnaround back to Ogden, Utah. Appreciate you all joining us. Let's catch up with those chat messages. I think you all were trying to help me spot the airport, man. I was not seeing it. Definitely not seeing it. So we got Ken with the 180, Trailer with 249. David was giving me a little more faith this time with 130. Downwind Sim says 150. Al thought I was going to really super grease it at 103, and 3 points if you fly through the goalpost, says Downwind Sim. Yeah, you guys were trying to help me spot that airport. I was just not seeing it. Downwind Sim did indeed pick up the virtual pair of Downwind Sim binoculars tonight, so very, very well. Couldn't do anything but sit here and heckle. What are those tall scenery elements? They looked to me to be like smokestacks or something like that. I have no idea whether they are properly placed. Nuclear power plant cooling towers, question mark. Yeah, possibly. Who knows? Not sure at all whether that's realistic or whether they were auto-genned in there somehow or what. But, yep, there they were. And who knows? The localizer slightly out of alignment at EGE. Yes, it was. And I believe that is, so that is referred to, it's not an ILS there. Downwind Sim's asking about the alignment of the localizer at EGE. I believe that it is off intentionally because of the terrain. So it is not precisely aligned with the runway, and that's why it's called an LDA rather than an ILS. So I believe that that's a terrain-based alignment issue that is done intentionally there. I would have to double check, but yeah, I think that's the reason for that. Ken says he's got to go. Downwind Sim says goodnight. Trailer says goodnight. Al Sal says thanks for another great stream. Absolutely a pleasure to have you along for the ride, Al South. Appreciate you being here. And to everyone else that was part of the stream tonight, thanks for tagging along. If you ever wanted to watch back some of the old streams, we are always archiving our flights up onto the YouTube channel. If you just type the search terms Slant Alpha Adventures into the search bar there, that'll pop right up for you. So you can always check us out on that. If you wanted to follow us on Facebook or Twitter, it's just Slant Alpha with no space. Spell out the word slant and just put the word alpha right after it. And then on Discord, we are discord.gg, and then that random jumble of characters that you see down on the lower right-hand side of your screen. And if you want to know what's coming up on the channel, we always post the show schedule to the Discord channel, to the Twitch information tab, and also on our Facebook page. We do change it up from time to time, so it's not 100% reliable, but I do try to update it if I think things are going to switch around and I want to change the plan a little bit. So usually you can kind of tell what's coming up. This Friday, oh, by the way, Monday and Fridays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, which is midnight Zulu the day ahead for now. That's the usual show schedule, and we stick pretty closely to that for the rest of September. Friday the 20th, that's this coming Friday, that's going to be our next show then, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We are going to take another stab. I can't remember now if it's number 5 or number 6. We might have to go back through the archive and count them. But we've been trying to take the DC-3 into Catalina Island in Southern California. We tried this first back in February as a Valentine's Day flight over there to Lover's Cove in Catalina Island. And every time we've tried it, Catalina's been fogged in with like 300-foot ceilings. And the only approach there, you got to have at least like 1,000-foot ceilings there to get in. So every time we've tried it, we've wound up flying the missed approach and then diverting into John Wayne Airport, Santa Ana. So hopefully the weather will hold up on Friday and we'll be able to take finally a successful stab at getting the DC-3 into Catalina Island. So check that out on Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday midnight Zulu time. And then a week from tonight, we resume what we call the Great BE-58 Lower 48 State Tour. If you are new to the stream and you haven't seen this, it's a 47-leg tour that we designed for ourselves, flying the Beach Baron with Reality Expansion Pack. We started in Augusta, Maine. And anytime there's not a big event on VATSIM or not another topic that we want to show or or another type of approach or another flight that we want to show off. We got no other ideas as far as what we do. We knock out another couple legs of this. So it's a 47-leg tour of the contiguous 48 United States, where we started in Maine, and every flight touches down in a different United States state. So we're about 2/3 of the way through that. And so coming up a week from tonight, we'll knock out 2 more of those legs. And that'll be legs 30 and 31. We are leaving out of the Mississippi Delta, and we're going to head to Shreveport, Louisiana, then Gainesville, Texas, legs 30 and 31 of that 47-leg tour. So that'll be a week from tonight. So we will talk to you again on Friday. Thanks again, everyone that joined us tonight. I had a lot of fun, great chats, and great fun talking with you, and great fun having you guys heckle my flying. So, fortunately, I didn't make too many egregious errors, but we definitely made a few, and that's always good to make the stream kind of interesting, is to figure out how long it's going to take me to recover from my stupid mistakes. Good night, says Trailder. Won't be here Friday, but we'll catch you on Monday or in Discord. Yep, very good. And you can always watch the Friday one back later on YouTube if you choose to. But certainly appreciate you having. Certainly appreciate having you along anytime you can stop in. All right, so between now and Friday, or whenever you guys are able to stop back, Downwinson says you always do a fine job. Yeah, thank you for the low standards, sir. But between now and Friday, have a great week, guys, and enjoy and do be safe in your own travels and your own adventures, and we'll talk to you again soon.